that we are able to replenish and refurbish the existing fleet. The point we are making is that we are not sitting with a coal problem, we are sitting with an emissions problem. And there's existing technology throughout the globe. I mean, if you go to the Chinese, as I speak to you, they are installing 70 gigawatts of new generation capacity just coming from coal. But can I be protected?
Honourable members, order please. Please proceed, Honourable Minister.
No, thank you very much. So what we'll be doing is to import those technologies. And in fact, we'll be engaging with the Chinese next week to ensure that some of our stranded assets gets to be brought back into life and we're able to generate this electricity. The second one is on the transmission side. So this bold intervention, 440 billion rands of investments in the next 10 years to expand and modernize the grid by 14,000 kilometers is going to help us to ensure that there's an additional, if you like, penetration of renewable energy into the grid. And for us to achieve that, we need to expand and modernize the grid. Like I said, we are going to maintain the base load. Coal is part of the base load. Nuclear is part of the base load. Gas to power interventions that we'll be doing, Richards Bay and Kuka, we are looking at about 5,000 new generation capacity. What we are doing now is to conclude discussions on the molecules to be converted into electricity. And the totality of those interventions, at least on the base load side, should give us upwards of 7,000 megawatts in the next 6 to 7 years. Thanks.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Milam.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Minister, you've been at great pains to communicate that energy security is vital to South Africa's long-term economic growth. We agree. However, Eskom's year-to-date energy availability factor of 56.5% suggests that that's still a long way off. And it's becoming increasingly apparent that Eskom is unwilling to relinquish its monopoly role in this regard. Specific examples include the cumbersome and irregular interim grid capacity allocation rules, which really should be developed and administered by NERSA, Eskom's reluctance to permit wheeling, even though this is provided for specifically in the Electricity Regulation Act, and the onerous financial and regulatory burdens it places on customers who wish to install rooftop solar. Can the Minister advise what he is doing to break Eskom's monopoly mindset, address consumer concerns about the cost of these registration requirements, and accelerate more generation from a broad array of sources in light of these concerns?
The Honourable Minister.
So Eskom participate in 3 parts of the value chain. The first one is generation, the second one is transmission, the third one is distribution. On the distribution side, there is no Eskom monopoly. So constitutionally, the responsibility of reticulation and distribution sits with municipalities. But because of legacy issues, that assignment is spread 50%, 50-50 is Eskom that is supplying the end consumer and municipalities on the one side. So the assertion that Eskom enjoys a monopoly on the distribution side is fundamentally flawed and is not constitutionally competent. And then the second one on the transmission side, transmission is a natural monopoly. There is no serious sovereign country that will relinquish ownership of the transmission, and we are not about to do that. So Eskom is not hogging the transmission. It's both a developmental issue and the issue of national security and sovereignty that will remain with Eskom, of course, now under a body called the National Transmission Company, South Africa. And the third one is generation, the upstream of it. I just made the point that as a result of the amendment of the ERA, there are new players on the generation side. So, and I made the point that we are generating over 8,000 megawatts. Of course, it's a function of the weather because of the nature of the fuel source, that is the sun and the wind. But at its most efficient, we are generating about 8,000 megawatts. So what's the point I'm making is that it is false to suggest to the House that Eskom is a monopoly on the generation when I've been able to illustrate to you that Eskom must be understood within the context of the value chain. So I think the limitation of comprehension on what it takes to manage the the value chain is a result of, it's what results in the question in the manner in which it's being framed. The last part we have said to NERSA as the regulator that it must move with the speed of the time. NERSA is designed to support the
Thank you, Minister.
a legacy
Your time has
issue with
expired.
regards to Eskom. NERSA must repurpose itself so that it's able to meet the requirements of the time. And the issues of wheeling and feed-in tariffs will be resolved within that context.
The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Thring.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. Minister, I've consistently said that the key word in the just energy transition is the word just. Clearly, the decommissioning of Komati coal power station at the height of load shedding was not just because of the devastating consequences that it had on the broader community. Minister, you've correctly said that we do not have a coal problem but an emission problem. Some would like for us to stop using coal and to send our highest quality coal to them, but I'm glad that your office has confirmed that this is not your plan and that coal will continue to be a part of the plan for SA energy security. Minister, it has been suggested that low temperature coal burners and or biomass boilers be used to repurpose Komati to restore the damage done while reducing carbon emissions. Do you plan to utilize these low temperature coal burners, biomass boilers at Komati and elsewhere to ramp up energy security? If yes, please give timelines and places. If not, why not? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Thring. I'm happy that the Portfolio Committee took time to go and visit Komati. And I make the following point around the evidence out of Komati. Komati is a classic example. It's a template of how not to transition. And I think that the biggest lesson we can get out of Komati is how not to transition. Because what that does, it undermines our sovereign interest, because the totality of what constitutes just energy transitions with an S at the end is that it must take into account the sovereign and domestic requirements. And in our instance, it's not just the availability of the electrons on the grid, it's also the socio-economic impact of the decisions that we are making. So if you go to Komati, the calculus of decision-making was heavily in favor of the environmental requirements, without taking into context what are the economic impact in that geographic space of Komati. And Komati's principal economic anchor is coal and the associated uses of that fuel, in this instance, the Komati power station. You have gone there, you have seen how we have decimated the place. So what's the point I'm making? Yes, we are looking at all types of technologies. I've spoken about what the Chinese are doing. We have had conversations with the Japanese. They are able to coal-fire ammonia to reduce the CO2 levels and also the issues around air quality at levels that are significantly below the current minimum emission standards. So we're going to look at the comprehensive set of interventions. I'm not able to answer the question, what are the timelines? Like I said, we're having a conversation with the Chinese the whole of next week in China. We have done that with the Japanese, and then we'll come with an engineering solution that answers energy security and the socio-economic requirements. I want to repeat,
Thank
we
you,
don't have a
Honourable
coal
Minister.
problem,
Your time has
we have
expired.
an emissions problem. Thanks, Honourable Craig.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Ghana.
We do welcome that now we no longer have a lot of load shedding. But there are many South Africans that are still affected by the twin to load shedding, which is load reduction. Many South Africans, they listen to you, they say you are talking about load shedding, but you don't talk about load reduction. So I want to check from you, is there an endpoint to load reduction, and what has been the turnaround in terms of the municipalities paying Eskom so that the South Africans that are currently affected by load reduction are not affected and they can have electricity like many of us? Thanks very much.
The Honourable Minister.
No, thank you very much, Honorable Ghana, my dear brother. Your observations are correct. I mean, I stand here and we make pronouncements about the progress we are making around load shedding. But the experiences of an average person in a rural place like Haramokopa, in some informal settlement somewhere in Tembisa, is completely different from what I say in the public domain. Because they are experiencing periods in the day of no supply of electricity. It can go up to, in its totality, about 10 hours a day. So whether you call it load shedding or load reduction, the experience is the same. And it negates and nullifies all of the things that I'm saying. Without necessarily apportioning blame, we have instituted an intervention working with municipalities and SALGA. We have gone to the Limpopo province, led by Premier Ramatuba, and engage all municipalities, did the same in Northwest, Premier Mokotsi, did the same in the Free State, and all municipalities are coming on board. So we are resolving, if you like, a value chain intervention. So it's about the capacity of municipalities to discharge and prosecute their obligations. They have hemorrhaged skills over a period of time, lack of investments because they are not collecting. So we have designed a solution. I will take an opportunity in the immediate future to announce those interventions. And I can tell you that if you go to Maluti Apufong, the levels of collection, they move from below 30%, we are sitting at 97%. For the first time in 8 years, Mfuleni last month was able to pay the full amount of its current account. And it's testimony to these interventions that we are making. It's not just about collection, it's about the sustainability of municipalities so that they have the necessary liquidity to discharge their obligation. But the long and short of it is that we are making that intervention. I'll announce the most comprehensive intervention. What are these sets of actions that we are taking to resolve load shedding?
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Your time has expired.
Re tlo kgona ho rarolla mathata a bona, re rarolle bothata bja load reduction ya ho fellwa ga motlakase tšatši ka letšatši. Re a leboha.
Question number 278 has been asked by the Honourable Maotwe to the Minister of Finance. The question is about whether the National Treasury is reviewing the social relief of distress grant to implement an unemployment grant, and if so, has the review been outsourced to a consultant or contractor, and what are the names of the consultants or contractors? The Honourable Minister.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, the future form and nature of the COVID-19 SRD will be informed by the outcome of the review of the active labour market policies. Long-term economic participation is a critical objective, and the solution must consider long-term benefits, affordability, complementarity with basic services, and employment promotion efforts. The Government Technical Advisory Center, which is housed at National Treasury, is a service provider appointed to conduct this active labour market review. Thank you.
The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Maotwe.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, we are in this situation today because for the past 10 years, the unemployment level has risen to high levels. We are speaking today with the expanded unemployment level sitting at 42%. And National Treasury has got no plan, even in this fiscal framework that was presented this year. They've got no plan or even an appetite to tell us how they are going to curb these unemployment levels. We've asked, when are they going to introduce the unemployment grant? Our people are unemployed, even worse now. Graduates are also unemployed, which adds on the crisis of the unemployment as it stands. So we just need to know, when are we implementing unemployment grant for the people who are within the working age population, because it is not their own doing that they can't find jobs. They are trying to find jobs, they are applying, but there's just no opportunities out there. What will the minister do, and when will he introduce an employment grant in South Africa to avoid these crisis levels that we find ourselves in? We will not curb the crime levels in this country for as long as our people are loitering the streets looking for jobs which are nowhere to be found. And it is not their own making. The government needs to create opportunities for our people. It's not enough for our government to only send kids to school to graduate and come back and loiter the streets without any unemployment. So the only thing that can help us is for government, which we also asked in the fiscal framework, that you are saying you are giving 8.8 billion rands towards creation of jobs, but you are not telling us how many jobs you are going to create. So while we are still
Thank
waiting
you,
for
Honourable
that answer,
Maotwe. Your time has
when will
expired.
the unemployment grant be introduced? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, it's the first time I hear of a proposal called unemployment grant. First time I hear that. What I've heard is proposal around basic income grant, around a number of other things. The unemployment grant I've not heard of it. But let me come and say, first let me talk about the unemployment problem. The unemployment problem is a function correctly so. Okay. Is it better? I said, I've never had a proposal of the unemployment grant. It's the first time I'm hearing of it. What I've heard are people who are talking about a basic income grant and other grants. Be that as it may, the issue of unemployment is a function of a number of things. Key in South Africa is a function of the fact that, let's admit, of stagnant growth. You make an allegation which I want to debunk, that in the fiscal framework there's no attempt at all to deal with this question, which I want to say is incorrect. First and foremost, in the budget, we outline 4 pillars of growth. Amongst them is massive investment in infrastructure, which we think will have an impact on the growth question. Insofar as looking at unemployment, you will know that there's what is called employment incentive. But what we are doing at the moment under leadership of Minister Meth is to look at the reorganization of all of that in government, whose intention is to look what form of grants it may well be that unemployment grant becomes one of those things. But we are working on
Honourable Minister, your time has expired. Thank you. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Burke.
Honourable Minister, what are the costs associated with job seeking and how significant are they for unemployed people? Would a grant that could assist people with unemployment and job seeking help to address these costs and provide incentives to continue looking for work or creating entrepreneurial activity?
The Honourable Minister.
The ideas that are beginning to emerge include a job seekers grant is among the package that's being considered. Among other things that are being considered, as you would be aware, is the issue of small and medium enterprise, and therefore part of that package would also be the same as what we call entrepreneurial grant. So that work is part of the active labour market review.
The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Molefe.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Minister, Given the acute unemployment and inequality being experienced by South Africans, especially the indigenous portion of the population, what direct relief measures has the National Treasury spent funds on in the immediate past, and what has been budgeted for to alleviate the suffering and havoc in people's lives that is being wreaked by unemployment and inequality?
Honourable Minister.
The honourable member will know that, among other things, since 2020, during the COVID, we introduced a COVID relief grant. And government spends about 35 billion rand per annum on that grant. And that grant is still penciled in over the MTF, subject to the outcome of the discussions that are taking place around the labour market reforms. There's also an employment incentive tax, which assists employers and fund employers who employ young people and subsidize them. We spend about 12 billion rand per annum on that grant. So there are a number of actions that are taking place. Various departments are doing a number of things. And there's also a notion that fiscal policy alone is the driver of economic growth. These ministers that are sitting next to me are involved in one way or the other in growth initiatives in their respective departments. I thank you.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Maimane.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Minister, quick question. In this regard, the Constitutional Court has ruled the fact that the SRD grant needs to be broadened to focus on inclusion, which will move it from 7 million beneficiaries to 11 million. Now, it's common cause that it is A, unaffordable, and B, the government itself in its submission argued that it is a voluntary one, which means that either the government will remove it or not. My question is, are you thinking of converting it into a basic income grant, A, or B, would it be better for us to use it as an incentive scheme for people to find work, certainly along rail, so that it becomes a process where people have the dignity of getting up to work and earning that money, rather than it be a grant for people to stay at home?
The Honourable Minister.
What I want to assure the House on, there is no intention to terminate the grant. Let's clear that up front. Because there's been a lot of misinformation that we've got an intention to terminate the grant. There's no intention. The second set of issues, are we likely to convert it into something else? And I think in all the questions that have been asked, I've been reaffirming the notion that there's a process which is in motion, which is active labour market. It may well be that this grant may emerge as an employment grant. I don't know. But if colleagues have got some proposal to make, they must all approach Minister Meth, who's leading us in that regard. Thank you.
Question number 270 has been asked by the Honourable Mohlongo to the Minister of Electricity and Energy. Yes, Honourable Reddy, on what point are you right?
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Just to make a point, I'd like to note this. For some reason, MK is being targeted by the sound and the cameras, because the cameras do not focus on MK speakers. Please ensure that this is rectified. Thank you, Acting Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Reddy. That is noted. We will now proceed with question number 270, which has been asked by the Honourable to the Minister of Electricity and Energy. The question is about the targeted measures that have been implemented by the Department to improve energy reliability and infrastructure development in KwaZulu-Natal, and how these align with national plans to expand renewable energy access. The Honourable Minister.
No, thank you very much, House Chair, and just to thank Honourable Mhlongo for the question. I think there are two parts to the question. Before I answer the question, perhaps just to make a frank admission that the democratic state has not been able to achieve universal access despite the promise that we made on the occasion of the liquidation of a system that is universally categorized as a crime against humanity. We committed to that. As I stand before you today, there's about 1.59 households that don't have access to electricity. I'm using if you were to ask me, I think the number could be considerably higher than that. Let's stick to the 1.6 million just to round it. So we have not been able to make achieve that promise. Notwithstanding the phenomenal achievement that we have made, I mean, depending on who you speak to, the levels of penetration or access were sitting at 38%, the dawn of democracy, others put it at 52%. Today, as I speak, you are sitting at 94%. Now, the concentration or the density of people who don't have access, households who don't have access to electricity, are those in the rural and peri-urban areas. And this is largely on account of the expensive backbone infrastructure that is required to support that energy demand. And then the second one, it has to do with the objective and subjective weaknesses in municipalities, their inability to plan, the fact that they are not economically viable spaces, they don't earn or generate sufficient revenue to invest or reinvest in new infrastructure, and as a result, we have the energy poverty in those areas. Like I said earlier on, working with Eskom and municipalities who are resolving that, capacitating the municipalities from a planning, funding and financing point of view, making sure that we are able to anticipate demand, build that demand in our forecast and the modeling, and provide the sufficient infrastructure, and then give them the capital that is required for them to be able to address this situation. So, Honorable Mhlongo, these interventions are not necessarily uniquely KZN, but they are transversal across the country. And then the last part of your question, that we are looking at cheaper options or more efficient options, cost-effective options of providing this. We are using new innovations. We are doing the first phase in Limpopo. We are harnessing our renewable asset, the quality of the irradiation levels, to ensure that we do a hybrid of solar and battery. We are able to provide efficient, reliable, and also affordable electricity. Affordability to be a big part of the conversation. So that's the direction that we are taking. And like I said, from one province to the other, we'll be announcing those interventions, including the possibility, or the ambition rather, not possibility, of ensuring that we address issues of energy poverty that are anchored on new innovations that are cleaner, cheaper, and more efficient. Thanks, Chair.
The first supplementary question will be asked by Honourable Mhlongo.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. Honourable Minister, steps have been implemented to prevent tampering and interference with the electricity infrastructures, which have contributed to major electricity challenges.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Mhlongo. Your observations are on point. The fact that a large part of interruptions are as a result of tampering and illegal connections. So first, we know that there's groupings, networks within municipalities and also inside Eskom that are doing everything to undermine and bypass, if you like, the protocols that are required for us to be able to issue electricity tokens to the end user. Essentially, it's a criminal network, a criminal syndicate. And I'm happy to say that we are dismembering that syndicate, and the law enforcement agencies will make the necessary announcement in that regard. The second one, Honourable Mhlongo, is a technology-based solution. So we want to achieve two things. The first one is to ensure that we have intelligence on the performance of the system and the network, and we are able to respond accordingly by providing the necessary capacity of reticulation and distribution infrastructure to support that demand. The second part of that intervention is to ensure that we are able to make it possible for us to give the poor the allocation of free basic electricity. The current configuration is that that allocation goes through municipalities, and then there's leakage there because they get to reallocate it to some activities of municipalities that are unrelated to supporting the poor. So if you roll out prepaid electricity that is intelligent and smart, we are able to preload it at the beginning of every month, and we are able to directly subsidize the end user. So those in broad terms, I mean, amongst the main interventions that we are making to ensure that we are able to protect the network, support the poor, and address energy poverty, electricity poverty in the country. Thanks, Madam Chair.
The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Mofokeng.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Honourable Minister, does the electricity supply challenges of Eskom in KwaZulu-Natal require specific solutions to that province, or do they affect all provinces? And what solutions like off-grid solution are being considered or developed to deal with transmission and distribution in areas in which transmission cannot be developed, like in the Valley of 1,000 Hills in KwaZulu-Natal? Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Mufokeng. Yes, just to re-emphasize the point I made earlier on, the biggest cost of the rollout of electricity to the household is what we call backbone infrastructure, the building of a transmission and reticulation network. So we want to achieve condition of polycentric, if you like, generation, or what you call distributed generation at closer to the consumption. What you do there, you are going to undermine the cost associated with building backbone infrastructure, and you are going to minimize. You will not completely eliminate what we call technical losses. In engineering terms, there's no perfect 100% efficient system. So in so doing, we are able to localize generation. And then the third aspect of that is our ability to harness our renewable energy endowment, because in this instance, the sun is the fuel source. We convert that fuel source into electricity using these PV panels. During the day, excess generation, then we consume, and then, like I said, it's excess. What is excess recharges the batteries. At night, during peak, we are able to draw consumption, support consumption from what we have stored. And then the third element which has been missing is that on the back of these interventions, like we did with the bid windows, we built 8,000 new generation capacity, investment of 300 billion rand in that space, but we have not built an industry on the back of that. It means that we have exported employment opportunities to those who manufacture PV panels, battery and inverters. What we are doing with Minister Tau is to localize production, because the state is the biggest consumer. The state is a price maker, so we'll work to consume our own demand and ensure that we introduce new skills, we broaden industrial capacity, we get people out of the SRD grant, they get to do quality jobs.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Your time has expired.
And then we don't have the challenge of revenue in the country. Thanks, Honourable Mufokeng.
The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Milam.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Minister, on the recent oversight visit to Komati Power Station, the Portfolio Committee was shown rural microgrid containers utilizing solar panels that provide standalone electricity to up to 30 households. Now, while the pricing of these units may be somewhat excessive, they're about 2 million rand each, and almost certainly could be significantly reduced, are you liaising with the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure, and or the provinces and local municipalities to deploy these or similar systems in far-flung rural areas for residential customers, for clinics, for police stations and the like? If so, what is the progress thereof, and where are they being deployed? And if not, why not?
The Honourable Minister.
Well, I don't know how it works, because I've already answered the question. So I thought there's a degree of dynamism. You don't necessarily stick to your script. It's a follow-up question. It's follow-up on the initial answer. I've answered the question. Thanks.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Nchabeleng.
Honourable Minister, in 2019, there was a decision taken by Andre de Ruyter to shut down Komati Power Station. There was a recommendation report that was released that stated that the fact that Komati Power Station should have never been decommissioned and shut down What is the minister's plan in reopening and recovering Komati Power Station back to its operability state? There was nothing wrong with Komati Power Station. It was shut down prematurely, and at present the power station is still intact and can be fully recoverable and reopened and made operational. Komati Power Station must be reopened. Minister, what is your plan to reopen Komati Power Station?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Crown Prince, for that excellent question. Just to make the following point. Can I be protected from people who are...
Order, members. Allow the Minister to reply, although a bit of heckling is always in order, as long as it doesn't interfere. Honourable Minister, please proceed.
Yes, I mean, I do make the point. In my spare time, I do get to lecture. I tell youngsters there are bad questions and there are excellent questions. So for me to credit, it's an excellent question. Well done, Crown Prince. It doesn't help not to listen to the answer and stick to the script. Just keep on reading when we have answered the question. So it's a bad question because it repeats itself. But just to say the following, Crown Prince, your observations are correct. They are correct that I think we could have managed Komati much, much better. That in the throes of load shedding, when you have energy deficit, you undermine your ability to continue to generate and meet that the energy demand. And then this is what it is. I mean, it's water under the bridge is spilled milk. So the point we're making is that we're examining options and opportunities for us to repurpose and repower Komati as an example. I'm saying as an example because it's also applicable to some of the units in Grootfontein, Camden, and Hendrina. Those have been closed. And we're looking at options such as gas-to-power solutions, co-firing ammonia with coal to reduce the amount of emissions, but also be able to rebuild the economies of those spaces so that people can find quality jobs, the skills that are required, and participate in the mainstream economy. So the long and short of it is that I'm not able to provide crystal and clear timelines, but the point I want to convey is that, yes, it's within our radar. We'll do our own calculation and see what is the best way of doing it. But the asset is there. It is a sunk cost. The infrastructure is in place. It won't take much for us to be able to repurpose. It's not a greenfield development. It's a brownfield development, and the capital costs are not as heavy compared to a greenfield development. Once more, thanks for the exceptionally good question.
Question number 311 has been asked by the Honourable Lucas to the Minister of Agriculture. The question is about the development of new small, medium-scale farms and the support provided to new black farmers to address historical injustices and improve food security. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. The Department, through the Land Development Support Programme, supported 34 medium-scale producers for the period in question. The blended finance scheme supported 106 medium-scale producers.
Chair, order.
Honourable Minister, could you please take your seat?
Yesterday, Gatin advised this minister to send his resignation. Is he still here as a minister?
Honourable Mkalipi, that is not a point of order. Honourable Minister, please proceed.
Chairperson.
Honourable Daniels, on which point do you rise?
Chairperson, no matter the point, there's no Gayton in this house. There's Honourable Minister Gayton McKenzie, not Gayton.
There is Gayton.
Oh, can those people, yeah, you can make a noise. Honourable Chairperson, can those people who's busy clearing their offices for the next GNU to come in, can you please take control of them so that we can have order in this house?
Honourable Daniels, that is not sustained, but I do also caution members to please refer to other members in terms of the rules and not by first name. Honourable Minister, please proceed.
I know they're desperate to get into the offices, but there's no absence of presence yet. You'll have to wait a little bit. The blended While the Comprehensive Agricultural Support Programme supported 3,444 producers, and the Alima Letsema Programme supported 8,710 producers for the period.
Honourable Minister, could you please take your seat? There's a point of order. Which point are you rising on, Honourable Member?
Deputy Speaker, the Minister is inaudible. We can't hear him, and we're supposed to respond to the questions. Can he go closer to the mic, at least?
I will request the Minister to do so. And Minister, if you could please then repeat, start from the start with your answer.
Thank you very much. I hope the audio is better there. The department, through the Land Development Support Programme, supported 34 medium-scale producers for the period in question. The blended finance scheme supported 106 medium-scale producers, while the Comprehensive Agriculture Support Programme supported 3,444 producers, and the Elima Letsima supported 8,710 smallholders for the period in question. The department obviously recognises the need for sustained support to smallholder medium-scale producers to improve both food security, productivity and market access. The department offers comprehensive support packages which include on-farm agricultural infrastructure by way of fencing, irrigation, storage, machinery equipment, production inputs like seeds, fertilizers and chemicals, operational costs, post-harvest support with processing, packaging and cold storage, market access facilitation, training and technical skills and financial literacy, mentorship and business planning assistance. These programs all contribute to inclusive agricultural development by strengthening the capacity of producers to produce, market and sustain profitable enterprises. I thank you.
The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Lucas.
Deputy Speaker.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker.
Deputy Speaker, point of order.
Honourable Maotwe, on what point do you rise?
No, I did not want to disturb the outgoing minister when he was responding. Deputy Speaker, we're given sparkling water here. There's no still water anywhere. Can we please be given still water?
Honourable Member, that is noted, and we will take that further. Unfortunately, I can't arrange that right now, but I'm sure the necessary people have taken note. Honourable Lucas, my apologies. Please proceed.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. And also thank you very much to the Minister for the response. I just want to follow up by asking Minister, yes, speed up the process to make sure that more of medium-scale and black farmers benefit from improved market access and also that there is adequate post-settlement support to those beneficiaries. Thank you very much.
Around a table where we can start to discuss how we are able to get small-scale producers a greater share of the market. A number of the initiatives focus on aggregation. One of the big challenges, particularly for larger commercial operations and supermarkets, is that they need a guaranteed quantity and quality of supply. And when you have a variety of small producers, it is often, and so the approach that the department is looking at is how we can aggregate smallholder producers. Sharing with the value chain on their imperative.
Honourable Minister, your time has expired. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Freeman.
Dankie voorsitter. Hoe bepaal die departement of hulle ondersteuning aan die opkomende kleinskaalboere suksesvol en volhoubaar was? Enige suksesvolle verhale? Dankie voorsitter.
The Honourable Minister.
Yeah, thank you very much to the Honourable Member for the question. And the small-scale sheep farming is a very important sector for agriculture, both from a wool production but also from a meat production perspective. And apart from the initiatives that I've already spoken about, where we're trying to include more small-scale producers into value chains and link them into value chains with guaranteed uptake agreements and the like, we're also, as a department, working very closely with the industry bodies themselves to assist in a number of ways, particularly with small-scale sheep farmers. One of the big areas of request from small-scale sheep farmers is around genetics. Obviously, the fatter and more healthy you can make your sheep, the better the prices that you're able to achieve for them. And so one of the programs that we're working closely with that particular sectoral body is how they can share genetics with small-scale farmers. I'm very pleased to say that the sheep farming industry, as well as the beef sector, are the two leaders in inclusion and certainly have a greater access of small-scale farmers and start-out farmers, but also previously disadvantaged farmers that form part of the value chain. And they're certainly setting the example for the rest of it. Then also it's about market access and how we link those particular farmers with market access. And I'll be talking a little bit later on the questions that are going to be posed around AGOA on some very exciting initiatives that are occurring around looking to other countries that are desperate for particularly sheep, lamb and beef. And part of that is how we're going to include the smaller scale farmers in those value chains so that they too can feel the fruits of South Africa's initiatives abroad. Thank you.
The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Boshoff.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Speaker. I want to ask the Minister, if you refer to support of small-scale farmers and emergent farmers, is there a stage projected when the support will not be needed anymore, that the farmers are expected to be self-sufficient or self-reliant at least? Or is it, do we see an ongoing process, basically, forever? And in conjunction with that, would you agree that it undermines transformation of agriculture if projects don't get to a point where they are self-reliant? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you to the Honourable Boshoff for the question. Madam Deputy Speaker, through you. Well, the three key focuses which I've made non-negotiable for the department when it comes to projects going forward is threefold: viability, sustainability and profitability. Because it is absolutely essential that programs and support gets people onto their feet as quickly as possible and gets them into a position where they're viable, sustainable and profitable, and the department can then move on to new beneficiaries to be able to assist them. I think a lot of the problem in the past is that we've simply just handed over projects and expected that people are going to be able to make a success of it. I think there's required to be support, but I also come back to the point I make. You can give somebody the best piece of land and give them the best seeds for cabbages. If you don't link them with the market or give them a way to get their products to the market, there's no way on earth they can be viable, sustainable, or profitable. So the model that we prefer is to look at, particularly when we're doing projects, is to look at how we can link those projects into value chains. There's already been some work with South African breweries on barley and the work there. There's a new malting plant going to be setting up in Sedibeng, and the hope is that we can get the farms that we're going to be assisting previously disadvantaged South Africans on into existing value chains so that we can walk away at a stage and those farmers are able to be viable, sustainable and profitable, because then they can be self-sustaining, but most importantly, that's when they become net employers of other people in South Africa and create the jobs that our economy so desperately needs. Thank you.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Mashlatsi.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Minister, the agriculture value chain has been identified in the National Development Plan as one of the job drivers through agro-processing. My question, how many new small and medium-scale farmers has been capacitated on agro-processing by your department in the last 12 months in order to create jobs and reduce losses due to lack of storage infrastructure and access to market? Kindly provide full detail by province, farmer category, and commodities. Kanimambo.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chairperson. And obviously it's incredibly difficult for me to answer that question because I don't have the stats and figures to hand. But I'm sure that if the member can forward me the question, I can, in a written form, I can give him those particular details. But where I would agree with the Honourable member is that whilst we've had a large focus on agriculture, we have lagged behind in agro-processing. And this is very important because, much like minerals, what you don't want to be doing is exporting large amounts of primary product for limited value when you could, in fact, be exporting processed product for greater value. So, for instance, we export a large number of avocados to Japan. We buy those back in the form of processed guacamole, cosmetics, and a variety of other aspects. And so we do have to move to a situation where we are able to encourage the processing of primary agricultural goods into greater value. It also means that at the same time, we are able to create jobs. South Africa, as you know, has an unemployment crisis. And what we do need to be doing is looking at ways to grow job-creating industries. And agro-processing and agriculture both provide a huge opportunity, particularly for underskilled or South Africans, to be rapidly absorbed into work and are then able to work their way up through the value chain into other means of employment. Of course, there have been a number of agro-processing parks and the like that have been set up. Not all of them have achieved the success that many people thought at the beginning, but I do think it is an area where the Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition and myself will require to work on to ensure that we are able to have
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Your time is now expired.
Strategy. Thank you.
Thank you. Honourable Members, question number 268 has been asked by the Honourable S.N. Swart to the Minister of Finance. The question is about the steps to be taken to alleviate the burden of taxpayers, specifically by reducing wasteful and inefficient government spending, considering that taxpayers are currently overtaxed. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, House Chair. Government's long-term strategy for tax policy is to broaden the tax basis and lower rates where possible and given the economic environment at the time, with the caveat that spending pressures may periodically necessitate tax increases. To improve revenue collections, government will continue to investigate possibilities of closing down loopholes, broadening tax bases by limiting unnecessary exemptions and deductions, reviewing efficacy of tax expenditures, and supporting better tax administration, including the additional spending allocation to SARS of 7.5 billion over the next 3 years. I and the National Treasury have committed to also, one, undertake to audit an audit of ghost workers, starting with national and provincial departments. 2, use ongoing detailed review of labor market activation programs and public employment program to consolidate and rationalize the entire public employment ecosystem. The aim of the review is to reduce duplications and improve operational efficiencies across the more than 100 active labor market programs in over 20 public institutions. The recommendation of this review will be presented to Cabinet in due course. 3, the Treasury will implement significant changes to the budget process by reassessing the initial assumptions informing the budget with a view to creating room for improved spending. The consolidated recommendation of the spending reviews will be taken to Cabinet with an intention of pursuing their implementation by the Executive. In this regard, the President has also undertaken to establish a committee between the Presidency and National Treasury to identify waste, inefficiency, and underperforming programs. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable Members, I've been informed that the Honourable Thring will take charge of the first question on behalf of the Honourable Swart in accordance with Rule 137, Sub-Rule 10A. I now recognize the Honourable Thring.
Thank you, Honourable House Chairperson. Honourable Minister, perhaps before I begin answering the question, the ACDP actually voted against the report yesterday, and some of the DA members have actually falsely indicated that the ACDP voted in favour. So we'd ask for, it's out in the public media, so we'd ask for the DA leadership to please address some of their members to ensure that they do not put out false information. Minister, the ACDP is concerned that according to the recent research by the Aluma Capital Chief Economist Frederick Mitchell, South Africans are overtaxed and far beyond the Laffer curve, meaning any more tax hikes to raise revenue will likely have the opposite effect, leading to the law of diminishing returns. Higher taxes may disincentivize work, entrepreneurship and investment, or lead to immorality and non-compliance, effectively reducing the overall tax base and revenues. The ACDP agrees with Mitchell, who argues that further taxes will hurt the South African economy and government should focus on cutting its spending. And while the budget did not contain a direct tax increase for personal income tax, the fact that personal tax brackets and rebates will not be adjusted for inflation and the 2025-26 results in effect to a tax increase which will, according to National Treasury, raise revenue of some 19.5 billion. In addition, the 0.5 tax increase for the next 2 years goes ahead. Now, Minister, National Treasury plans to reduce wasteful government expenditure through measures like spending reviews, reallocation funds to match priorities and improving spending efficiency, while also focusing on protecting critical frontline services. While we appreciate your reference to such reductions in your reply, when is it expected that these reductions will begin to bear fruit in reducing government expenditure? And can the Minister confirm that the decisions regarding the non-adjustment of tax brackets and rebates for inflation, as well as the VAT increases, will be dropped once additional funding is sourced from your spending reviews? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
A reading of the budget review will probably confirm what the honourable member is saying, insofar as two particular taxes. That's what we have said. We have said, for instance, on the company corporate income tax, we're sitting at far above the OECD levels. We're also saying, insofar as income tax, we're sitting at the levels of the developed world. And therefore, which presupposes that indeed we've got to look at those taxes cut with an impressive eye. We would agree with the honourable member in that regard. It is, by the way, insofar as the 0.5% in the 26-27 financial year we've made it absolutely clear that a consideration will be made in dropping that if possible. Secondly, we intend, if the revenue allows us, I must qualify this, if the revenue allows us to also provide further tax reliefs on the income tax side. And we, to note, as I've indicated, if you look at the attempted budget of the 19th, we were providing tax relief on the income tax side. So we are looking at the possibility, if the revenue allows us to do so, to look at to review the tax proposals moving forward. Insofar as the spending reviews, we've made the point, even in the reply here, that we will be taking a document to Cabinet in the next few months of the existing spending reviews, and proposed new spending reviews will be taken into account. As to the when will these, any savings that arise will depend on whether they can be effective in the next financial year, or should we make an adjustment during the medium-term budget policy statement in October. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Burke.
Minister, I'm noting a pattern of giving curt or non-answers from ANC ministers to DA members, and I hope that you'll apply your mind to my question, which is, how can we increase the enforcement powers of potential future expenditure reviews or past expenditure reviews so that these don't just become another stack of ignored paper recommendations?
The Honourable Minister.
Let me just give you an example. Spending reviews, their implementation are a function of the executive authorities of the different departments. Let me just give you an example. One of the spending reviews says that government pays about 45% on the properties that we rent, above market price. That's what it says. But for that thing to be implemented, it requires the Minister of Public Works to implement that. I'm not sure whether that is something which is only in his mind at the moment, because they spend most of the time with journalists trying to take photos on construction sites that do not belong to his department.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable D.D. van Rooyen.
Thank you, House Chair. Minister, something unprecedented happened yesterday. Members of Parliament gave you a mandate to go and balance the revenue and expenditure estimations within 30 days. And it's our understanding as MK Party that it usually takes a protracted and a very congested process of at least a year for you to come to a determination of fiscal framework and revenue proposals. Well, yesterday you presented a product of that protracted process. Now, MPs outsource their responsibility of amending your recommendations to the House.
What is the question, Honourable Member?
The specific question here, Chair.
Because your time is almost up.
Just relax, Chair. I'm going to the question. Just relax. Now you are given 30 days to do something that you failed to do in a year. To us as MK Party, so what do you want to know? How are you going to ensure that in these 30 days you will be consulting accordingly?
Thank you, Honourable Member.
You will be using the right estimations
your time is now expired.
to make a determination of your new proposals.
The Honourable Minister.
I suspect, Honourable House Chair, Honorable Van Rijn probably didn't, that's probably why he voted against the decision. Probably didn't understand them, it's many. My understanding is the following, is that a couple of political parties have said, we have alternative proposals which will put across to replace both the income tax proposals and the 5%. I may say, for instance, one of the parties said to me, you have an institution which we are giving 20 billion rand, and this institution does not have the capacity to spend 20 billion rand. It can only spend 5 billion. We think that you should take that 15 billion rand as an alternative. I'm just giving you that. So what's going to happen is that over the next 30 days, we'll be exploring alternative proposals to replace our tax proposals. And we've said we are going to entertain that discussion with every political party. We will cross the time frames when we get there. If there's a time necessary to extend, we'll discuss that.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Maimane. Honourable Member, why do you want to be recognised?
No, but Chair, the Minister should have said, I don't have a response.
No, Honourable
What
Member.
he did right now, he was somersaulting.
No, Honourable Member, you are not the Minister. The Minister has responded to the question. Whether you like it or you don't like the answer, that's something else. The Honourable Maimane.
Thank you very much, House Chairperson. Firstly, I think, Minister, departing from your statement where you say the Presidency has established a mechanism to work with spending reviews, may I implore you to say, ultimately accountability on spending reviews must also come through Parliament. So if that mechanism can incorporate Parliament, that accountability can be effected, it will be helpful. My question more specifically is that, in fact, we have seen that online gambling, its contribution as far as sin tax is concerned, has been pitiful. It could potentially raise the revenue to up to 80 billion rands. And therefore, I'm asking the Minister whether we could collaborate on this issue to implement it so that we can shield South Africans from the sin tax. Has there been an investigation, and can it be potentially be implemented as a solution to deal with the VAT increase? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Honourable House Chair, the first question, the answer is yes. In terms of our activity as executive, we are accountable to Parliament. To the extent that the Parliament requires to report from time to time on the expenditure reviews, we will do that. On the second question, Honourable Maimane, I think you knocked at the wrong door. Let me tell you why. I've knocked at the wrong door. Let me tell you why. The Gambling Act is under the Minister of Trade and Industry. It's under the Minister of Trade and Industry. To my knowledge, I can't answer with firm knowledge on it. But I think the Minister is discussing with the provinces, because gambling is a own revenue for provinces. He's discussing with the provinces. A number of them have been complaining about the online gambling. So I think that issue is being attended to by the Minister of Trade and Industry.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable Members, we now move to question number 327 that has been asked by the Honourable Okamp to the Minister of Agriculture. The question is about the potential exclusion of South Africa from the African Growth and Opportunity Act due to the current geopolitical situation and strained relationship between the United States and South Africa. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair, and to the Honourable Okamp for the question. Obviously, the Department of Agriculture seeks to continuously strengthen its relationship with the United States Department of Agriculture by holding regular discussion on a variety of matters relating to both maintaining and existing market access conditions between the two countries. These continuous discussions were scheduled to take place in February, the latest in the United States. The department has also prioritized the relationship by appointing an agricultural attaché in Washington, the first time in many years, to signal that we take our reciprocal arrangement with agriculture particularly seriously. Dr. Jafta arrived in the first week of March and is actively engaging with his US counterparts on a variety of matters relating to phytosanitary, market access, and questionnaires that we have with the United States of America. I also intend to engage with our US counterparts as part of a border delegation when the government sends that through. The Act obviously allows South Africa duty-free access, which allows us to export a number of agricultural products to the United States of America. And without that access, we will obviously struggle with tariffs. And we've already seen new tariffs being announced. And I think that we can probably safely work on the fact that AGOA will not be in place for us later this year. I think that we need to hope for the best, but plan for the worst. That is why the department is actively seeking out new markets for those particular goods, particularly citrus, wine, nuts, and several other agricultural products in new markets such as Japan, Vietnam, Thailand, and a variety of other places, so that we can reduce any potential shock should AGOA not be renewed later in the year. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Okam.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. Honourable Minister, should we lose the benefits that we derive from the AGOA agreement, we will lose access to tariff-free exports of our agricultural products to the United States. This will have a devastating effect on our agricultural industry. You have now touched on it, but what specific steps is the Minister and his department taking to open up alternative markets that will assist in alleviating the impact of us possibly not being part of AGOA anymore?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair, through you to the Honourable Okamp. Yes, I think we must put it in context, though. Our export to the United States accounts for around about 6% of our international market access, but has obviously some very particular and important aspects, particularly when it relates to citrus wine and nut products and nuts as well. And so, that is obviously a huge problem if we were to lose duty-free access. But what the department is doing now through various processes is looking at existing trading agreements with other countries. And bear in mind, after Liberation Day, so-called, we are no longer the only country that is facing these tariff problems. So what we're doing is taking existing agreements that we have with other partners like the European Union, like Japan, like China, and many others, and looking at how we can deepen and widen access. Are we really taking full advantage of the full variety of goods that are there? And as I said, looking to displace some of the products that would probably see some curtailment in the United States market and find other markets for those products. And that's why, as I said, I've been in Japan, I've been in a variety of other places looking for markets for South Africa's agricultural products. I don't want to underplay it. It is a serious threat on the horizon to our agricultural sector, but I think that we do need to start building resilience in the agricultural sector in a post-AGOA world. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Boshoff.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. I want to ask the Honourable Minister if he would concede that the controversial visit of AfriForum and Solidarity to the USA was exactly meant to prevent the end of AGOA and to prevent punitive tariffs such as we learned about yesterday in the night.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you. As a member of the government, it's not my role to comment otherwise on the motives or achievements or techniques or tactics of other organizations. I can only speak for my department. I will, however, say that I do think that it is deeply unfortunate that there are decisions being made at a very high level in Washington that are based on an incorrect version of what is truly happening in South Africa. And I think that that is most unfortunate. I think we need to make sure that when decisions are being made, particularly when it comes to things like trade, that those decisions are made with the full facts in front of them. And so any organization, whether it's AfriForum, whether it's a political organization, or whether it's an NGO, is free to travel anywhere they want in the world and to conduct themselves in the way that they feel that they should conduct themselves. And I don't think anybody should stop them from doing so. But I do think that when we do share information about South Africa, that we should make every effort to make sure that our international partners have a full understanding of what the real facts are in South Africa and the challenges facing us. Because nobody wants to see people harmed through decisions that are made based on misinformation. And believe you me, no matter where you want to put the blame about why we find ourselves in the situation with the United States, and there's a long history about why we are in this situation, the people who are going to suffer the most are auto workers, factory workers, farmers and farm workers. And I think we all have a duty in this House to make sure that those individuals in South Africa are protected and shielded and that their jobs are preserved. The last thing we need is longer unemployment queues here, thanks to decisions made based on disinformation, misinformation, and a wrong understanding of what is actually happening on the ground in South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The next supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Trollip.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Having heard from the Minister now that the visit by AfriForum to the United States peddling misinformation has probably had some harm and militates against the extension of AGOA, my question is, what is the outcome of your party's visit to Washington with regards to AGOA and the recent announcement by the Trump administration of a 30% tariff increase on all South African exports, where agriculture has shown astronomical growth, especially in export to horticultural products to the United States of America?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much. Firstly, I'm not sure if the Honourable Trollip was not listening correctly. I never accused AfriForum of any of the things that you've said I've done. Quite the opposite. I said that they're allowed to go and share their perception. The thing is that I'm here as a Minister of Government, not as the leader of the DA, and I'm answering that as a question. So if you would like me to answer that political question on behalf of my party, I'm more than happy to do so, but I hardly think this is the right environment to do so. Thank you.
The last supplementary question asked by the Honourable Mtetwa.
Thank you, Chair. With the looming expropriation of blue lights without compensation, it is understandable why the Minister cannot answer today very comprehensively. But let me give you another chance to answer this question. With the United States undermining South Africa by not following any diplomatic channels in its interaction with South African government, including you, Mr. Minister, going to USA, claiming to represent SA, whilst you were representing the interest of the racists, why are we not exploring other markets outside the ones that you have already given, but also comprehensively, what are the timeframes attached to that? Thanks.
The Honourable Minister.
I'm not sure where the Honourable Member gets his information from, but I haven't been to the United States, nor have I entertained any such trip. I think I made that very clear in my initial outcome there. Look, I think we're in for some choppy waters over the next 4 to 5 years, and I think the world is going to be facing those choppy waters. We can't change the outcome of the election in the United States of America, but we can learn to navigate the waters that have resulted from them. And so I would say this, that, and as I've said already, we're looking at widening and deepening existing markets and looking for new markets. And there is no limit to the number of markets that we will explore. Just on Sunday, I had a meeting with a delegation from Russia who are interested in importing South African beef and other organic products into their country. I will meet with anybody and I will go anywhere to make sure that we get South African products onto their shelves, that we grow value chains in South Africa, and that we stimulate an international demand for our products. Because when we stimulate that international demand, the push for greater production happens here in South Africa, and that means jobs, it means revenue for Minister Gondongwana, it means greater opportunities for more South Africans. And so there is no place we will not go, no destination too far, no country too obscure. If they're interested in South African agricultural products, we've got a great product to sell them. We have the best farmers and farm workers in the world, and we've got a product that we can really be proud of. And we can take it with pride to every single corner of the world. I thank the Honourable Member for the question.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable Members, question number 312 has been asked by the Honourable Manelli to the Minister of Employment and Labour. The question is about the Labour Activation Programme and how monitoring and accountability mechanisms will be integrated to ensure it meets workforce needs and labour market demands, and what criteria will be used to evaluate the programme's success. The Honourable Minister.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. There are members who are howling me when I'm trying to stand up, Honourable Chair. Thank you very much, Honourable Chair, and thank you very much, Honourable Manelli, for that question. Due diligence and probity are conducted on each funding proposal, and partners enter into funding agreements. The terms of the agreements are that each training must result in employment for each learner or entrepreneur. The UIF is establishing a project management office to manage and monitor every site where LAP is implemented. In addition to PMO, the UIF is factoring in biometrics and learner management systems to ensure that each learner is accounted for. Over and above that, the UIF had included a clause in the contract that as soon as the stipend payment management system is in place, an addendum will be entered into with each partner so that the UIF pays stipends directly to learners based on the online attendance register. Labour Activation Programme officials conduct monitoring on a monthly basis, ensuring that projects are implemented successfully in line with the terms of the contract. The UIF within the Labour Activation Programme Chief Directorate is implementing Project ILIMA, which involves collaborating with other units within the UIF to bring in more officials to assist with site visits and monitor project implementation. Gaps that are identified during the monitoring are discussed with the entity, and the entity will be given time to resolve those gaps. The UIF board, through its Labour Activation Programme Committee, conducts oversight monitoring exercises on projects periodically to ensure MOUs or contracts signed and implementation plans are adhered to, enhancing the objectives of employability, job creation, entrepreneurship, and job preservation. The UIF is working on enhancing the organizational structure to capacitate provinces and to ensure monitoring is at the level commensurate with the investment being made in the job creation space. Thank you, Honourable House Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Manelli.
Thank you, Honourable House Chair. Thank you, Honourable Minister. What specific methods will be implemented to ensure that monitoring and accountability mechanisms not only track compliance with the established strategies of the Labour Activation Programme, but also provide actionable insights into how effectively the programme addresses the evolving needs of the workforce and aligns with the labour market demands. Thank you, Host.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Maneli. My department, having monitored and assessed the impact of the work that we do under LAB, has taken a decision to repurpose and reimagine LAB to ensure that the skills that people are trained on are the skills that are demanded by the labour market. To that effect, we are working with the universities, we are working with the DHEAD to ensure that we have a very scientific, evidence-based policy intervention on job creation. This is to ensure that the Labour Activation Programme responds adequately to unemployment and that clear strategies in addressing the needs of the workforce are aligned with what the labour market needs. Thank you, Chair.
The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Bahrain.
Thank you, Chairperson. The administration and implementation of the past Labour Activation Programme has been nothing but disastrous. It has been an absolute failure by any stretch of the imagination. It looks like, in fact, the department was lap dancing, not trying to create jobs. On this occasion, we're spending 15 billion rand on what appears to be an expensive job opportunity program. These job opportunities in the past have lasted 3 months at the most. We can't look at this and say we're going to train people when in fact we have no ability to train people. The UIF, you tell us, is going to manage this program. They've only been able to mismanage in the past. For the past 20 years, they've mismanaged everything, in particular the UIF, even during COVID when the people needed it, we didn't get it. When will we scrap the program and assist the private sector, including the disability sector, to rather create employment? Thank you, Minister.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair and Honourable Bahrain. The disaster, I don't know if it was declared, but my understanding that we have never spent 15 billion rand ever since the inception of this program, since 2017. It is only in 2024, 2025, where the budget of 14 billion rand was availed. In the past, it was less than 1 million that was spent, and it was 3 million that was budgeted for. So I don't know where the honourable member gets the information from. However, the issue of the training, as I said before, Honourable Chair, we are training people. We have 3 programs. We don't have a program of less than 3 months. We've got skills program for those who have no matric. We've got learnership for those who've got grade 12, and apprenticeship, which is 3 years. The learnership is 1 year. And we are paying, and plus are paying monies to the partners for training and development. So it is not a waste of time, but for sure, I agree with the honourable member that there is a room for improvement. Hence, I mentioned earlier on, repurposing and reimagining to ensure that are demanded by the labour market. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Ngobo.
Thank you so much, Honourable House Chairperson. Honourable Minister, how will the department ensure that the monitoring and accountability mechanisms within the Labour Activation Programme are adaptable to evolving labour market demands? And what steps will be taken to address any shortcomings identified during the evaluation process? Thank you.
Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Honourable Member. I've already said that we are setting up a PMO at the UIF, and also we are working with universities and DHEAD for evidence-based ensuring which skills are needed by the labour market. But I want to add to say, we are strict now as a department, as we also even include the issue of ensuring home after the training program with a certificate that won't provide any food to the family of those that are participating. But instead, as part of the contract, we said those partners are compelled that when they train those individuals, after the training has been completed, there must be employment, or those who don't want to be employed, they must be assisted to start their own businesses. That we shall do. But of course, when you monitor, you'll see failures, and we are prepared to improve along the way as we assess the program that you are doing.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Ghana.
So the program has been running for a number of years. And this afternoon you are talking about the systems that you want to implement, so you want to introduce so that you monitor how the program is running. I want to check with you, since the lab program has started, do we know where all the beneficiaries or the people that have been trained, have gone through the program are at right now, if we are still thinking of introducing the system? Can we account for them? And how much is it taking the government to train one person through this program? Thanks very much.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Ghana. The number of years, it is from those years that we have learned, hence I am presenting before this August House, that we are busy with reimagining and repurposing, because we have assessed. It is for that reason that I said earlier on, we've introduced something that has never existed before, that in the contracts of the partners, we are compelling them not to just train people, but to ensure that those who are being trained are able to be linked to employers or are able to be assisted to start their own businesses. But I can provide the information once my officials have finalized the report, that I have since instructed them to give me a proper analysis from day one of the initiation of the lab program up to so far. But I am saying, Chair, we are improving from when we started, because we are not only implementing those decisions that were implemented at the beginning of the program. We're expanding. When the program started, it was only employability, TERS, and business turnaround and recovery. We have since introduced another leg on teacher assistance and also on entrepreneurship, because the program is growing and we are learning along the way. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable Members, question number 332 has been asked by the Honourable Molefe to the Minister of Finance. The question is about the risk mitigation measures being taken by the Department and National Treasury to address the potential unrealistic growth forecasts and the likelihood of a severe recession. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, House Chair. National Treasury does not consider its baseline as over-optimistic. The macroeconomic forecast published by the National Treasury is the best estimate based on the information and data available at the time of the update. The forecast also reflects the institution's comprehensive assessment of how the current state of the economy will impact on outlook. Independent studies on GDP forecast inaccuracies show that National Treasury forecast errors have significantly reduced in recent years. By conducting peer assessment, these studies further confirm that forecasts produced by the National Treasury exhibit no institution-specific bias. Moreover, National Treasury's growth forecast performed in line and at times better than those of other professional forecasters, forming a credible base for fiscal planning. The National Treasury is cognizant of the risk that could result into the baseline macroeconomic forecast not materializing. To account for these, the National Treasury models and models and publishes alternative what-if scenarios alongside the baseline forecast. This approach helps quantify the macroeconomic impact of certain risks materializing. Additionally, this analysis is further complemented by the broader risk assessment also presented in Chapter 2, which qualitatively details how the realization of key upside and downside risk could affect the macroeconomic forecast. The Chapter 2 I referred to is the Chapter 2 of the budget review. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. I've requested the service officers just to attend to the noise coming from the back. And if honourable members make use of the facility at the back of the dome, please ensure that we keep the noise levels down. It is interfering with the proceedings. The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Molefe.
Thank you, House Chair. Thank you, Minister, for the answer. But, Minister, the truth of the matter is that over the last 12 years, National Treasury growth forecasts have been optimistic, and that, in fact, they have never materialized in the last 12 years. They've always missed the growth forecasts in the last 12 years. What measures has the National Treasury taken to correct its predictive macroeconomic models to improve growth forecasts, especially in the light of the extensive criticism on the current growth projections that are included in the fiscal framework?
The Honourable Minister.
I don't know where does an honourable member come to the conclusion that over the next 12 years, he's not alone. What? What? Oh, over the 12 months, okay. Okay, sorry. This question arose also in the joint committees, where we tabled an analysis and presented what other institutions focused and what was our forecast. We put the World Bank, the IMF, Reserve Bank, Bureau for Economic Research to make a comparative analysis. That's what we presented. I don't have the document with you, but I can submit that document to the honourable member for a better scrutiny, where in the committee we did that outline, which shows that we have not been as what people are saying in terms of the forecast.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Alexander.
Thank you. Mr. Minister, after nearly 30 years of ANC rules, South Africa's economy is struggling under poor policy and lack of reforms. Your government has overseen the failure of SOEs, Eskom's failure due to corruption and mismanagement and that led to load shedding has cost this country billions. Our public wage bill is too high. We have too many confusing policies that scare away both domestic and international investors. We have a failed job creation plan with unemployment in a crisis, and the constant delays about the big economic reforms are yet to be seen. With this record of failure, why should South Africans believe that the Treasury's latest promise on fiscal discipline and economic growth will be anything different?
The Honourable Minister.
Before responding, Honourable House Chair, the question has got nothing to do with focusing. Is it allowed? I can respond, but I'm saying the question has got nothing to do with forecasting.
Honourable Minister, you may respond as you may wish. I'm looking at the question, and the follow-up questions is usually derived from the question as it is put. However, if you wish to respond, you may proceed, Honourable Minister.
Yeah, no, Honourable House Chair, I think my reading of what the Honourable Member is saying is a statement And that statement is an allegation that the ANC has performed poorly over the next few years, 30 years, and it's not a question. I'm not sure whether I should, I don't think I should answer that.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable Member, why do you want to be recognized?
Thank you, Chair. The Honourable Member can't say your government because it's in the GNU. Why is she saying your government? Because she's in government herself.
Honourable Member, are you
misleading us?
Are you now replying to the statement that the Minister said the member is making? You're trying to assist the Minister. Now, Honourable Members, let's move on. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Mukwele.
Thank you very much, Chair. Minister, when we raised this issue in the first meeting following the tabling of the budget with you, we raised concerns about the projections. We were not saying that the growth projections must be perfect, but there has been a trend over a 10-year of not only inconsistency, but also rapid changes within the short period of time. For those involved in this planning, it is as if growth projections don't exist, because they are neither consistent nor reliable. All the so-called benchmarking exercises appear to be paid opinion and biased. Minister, the question is, would more realistic growth projections for the current financial year and over the medium term simply demonstrate that the National Treasury does not have a credible economic strategy besides privatization?
Honourable Minister.
The problem is people make general statements and say your numbers don't tell. They don't make a comparison of which numbers. So let me just give an indication. We make an assumption, for instance, in February, that our prediction, for instance, during in-year, the growth will be about 0.9% for argument's sake. And somebody said 0.8, somebody says 0.7. In between, we're saying in-year. As numbers flow from the GDP, you always revise your forecast, informed by the GDP numbers that come. That does not necessarily mean that your forecast was wrong, because it means that you are using the available data at the time. As soon as new data comes, it informs the new forecast. So I don't know what you're talking about. In 1 year, for instance, we were at 0.7. The Reserve Bank was at 0.6, or the IMF at 0.8. But we ended up settling in one figure as the year unfolds. That's how forecasting works.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Zibi.
Thank you, House Chair. Minister, you mentioned in your answer to the Honourable Molife that you are looking at what-if scenarios, which I think is the right thing to do. Does any of those scenarios involve the possibility that we may need to revise our fiscal framework as a defensive measure if the global environment, the global macroeconomic environment and trade environment worsens and has adverse impacts on our own economy?
The Honourable Minister.
For instance, in what I said is what if? What if we go into chapter 2? So there's a number of those scenarios which include geopolitical situation. So it does. So the what-if scenarios that are contained in chapter 2 take into account what you're talking about.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable Members, question number 279 has been asked by the Honourable Mahotwe to the Minister of Finance. The question is about whether the National Treasury's expenditure review since 2013 were outsourced to consultants or contractors, and if so, who they were and how much was paid to them? The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, House Chair. I'm grappling with, in my mind, there's a full list here of these consultants because it's work that has been done over a 20-year period. The National Treasury, through the Government Technical Advisory Center, has conducted expenditure reviews since 2013. The majority of this work was done by the officials at national and provincial sphere. Some of the work was outsourced to consultants and contractors. The details of these consultants and contractors involved, along with the total amount paid to them, are reflected in this table. I don't know whether, House Chair, I should read the full table or I should read the total amount. We can make it available to Honorable Maud, the entire list, but the total amount over the 20-year period is 53,459,383 rand.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. You may make that available to the Honourable Member. I've been informed that the Honourable Letlape will take charge of the first question on behalf of the Honourable Mawotwe in accordance with Rule 137, Sub-Rule 10, Paragraph A. The Honourable Letlape.
Thanks, House Chair. We hear, Minister, that points that the expenditure reviews depend on departments to implement. But the reality is that majority of these expenditure reviews are being done by people who used to work in the National Treasury and during apartheid. These individuals have now opened a lucrative avenue of extracting money as consultants and contractors. And they are now able to do this because the National Treasury has failed to build internal capacity over the years. What is more disturbing is that many of these expenditure reviews are conducted in a predetermined outcome. The real agenda here is how can the state spend less money and how can the private sector contribute more? Minister, I want to ask you this not only in your capacity as a Minister of Finance, but as a senior member of the ANC as well. Does the ANC have the capacity to conduct its own spending reviews and use them to inform policy, or is everything now being outsourced to National Treasury and its consultants? Thanks, Chair.
The Honourable Minister.
Maybe you should direct that question to Mr. Fiscal Mbalula, care of Lituli House. But let me come answer in my capacity as Minister of Finance. The notion that all of these people were apartheid, and I disagree. Some of them, I don't deny, it could be that they've got specific skills we don't have. But a number of these companies we are going to show you. For instance, PARI is one of the companies that does public sector transformation. It's an institution which is linked to VETS, which was established not during apartheid period. There are black people who have been contracted. One of them, Daniel Makoni, has received a lucrative contract as part of this spending reviews of 3 million rand. So I doubt that subjective analysis of the individuals that are there. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable van der Weyen.
Thank you, House Chair. Since this is my last supplementary question to the Minister, let me take this opportunity to...
Are you suggesting that I'm leaving as well?
Let me take this opportunity to Sibongi abantu base Tukuza, 128, for delivering MK Party to be participating in the important spheres of government, local government yesterday, ousting the ANC, of course, from power. Minister, you seem not to have captured the gist of the question. The issue here is in terms of our commitment to build state capacity. How do we, as a National Treasury, set an example and ensure that National Treasury have a capacity to conduct this expenditure review on its own? Secondly, what are the lessons learned? Because we haven't shared these lessons with us. What are the lessons learned out of these reviews? Because, I mean, it's a decade already.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Your time
and we
has now
haven't
expired.
you haven't shared with us the lessons learned from these reviews. And of course, don't
Remember, your
work
time
with,
has
with other
expired.
departments to deal with the outcome of these reviews. Thank you.
Honourable members, you are reminded that a supplementary question consists of one question and not multiple questions. The Honourable Minister.
No, let me take what he calls the core. In other words, how to ensure that National Treasury itself has got capacity to do all of these things. The truth is, no department can have the capacity to do everything. That's why we have got different departments. We don't have the capacity to do what is doing. We don't have the capacity to deal with mining. Those are different kind of skill set that are required. The same thing happens with expenditure reviews. Expenditure reviews for that specific sector, we require a particular set of skills relevant to that sector you are doing spending reviews on. So Treasury can't have it. What the capacity we've developed in Treasury is to create an institution such as GTEC, which does spending reviews on its own in some instances where it can't, depending on the nature of the skills it requires, it outsources it. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Beasley.
Greetings, Minister. Has an expenditure review been done on the total cost of the Cabinet and related expenditure? If not, can I recommend that it be done? And the reason why I ask, Minister, is the Cabinet should be leading by example as opposed to spending so much money. Thank you.
Honourable Minister.
A process was done by National Treasury and the Presidency, which is not a spending review, but its core function was to look at the reorganization of government. For instance, we've got a number of institutions that are depending on the fiscal, a number of public entities that are depending on the fiscal. Some, the majority, all of them combined, are employing about 160,000 people who are paid, by the way, above public people who are paid by in terms of the Public Service Act. That reorganization included the review of the different departments. The truth is, that work is still continuing. But what happens after the elections, with the constitution of the government of national unity, insofar as departments is concerned, that review did not proceed. But insofar as public entities is continuing.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Kaleka Mazibuku.
Thank you, House Chair. Honourable Minister, our challenges as a government are not only about funding, but the capability and capacity to spend appropriated funds effectively. A key element of spending reviews needs to focus on elements of the quality of expenditure, as this has an effect on the multiplier effect of spending and an impact on the quality of service provisions. Minister, what measures is the Minister taking to ensure there are interventions which enhance the quality of expenditure? Thank you.
Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much. I mean, if you were to ask this question to Dr. Ramokgopa, insofar as it affects infrastructure, that's his passion. That's his passion. And I want to use that as an example. That we have got a budget of over 1 trillion over the next 3 years. Some of it is there's also some of it which is going to come through the budget facility for infrastructure. Dr. Ramokgopa says, sure, as many of those projects are not going to qualify for the budget facility for infrastructure, not for lack of funding, but because it's how they are packaged at the system. And second, it comes at the execution level. I'm raising these issues to suggest to the honourable member that that question, although not a teacher, is a good question. Is a good question. So we are working across the system to ensure that the efficiencies, our special focus as National Treasury will be in particular on the infrastructure side of things, so that we can derive value for money in the 1 trillion rand we intend to spend over the next 3 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Honourable members, question number 313 has been asked by the Honourable Hassan to the Minister of Mineral and Petroleum Resources. The question is about how the responsibilities of the departments have been clarified, particularly regarding licensing and oversight under the Petroleum Pipelines Act and the Gas Act, and how the national energy regulators' dual reporting to both departments will be managed to avoid regulatory conflicts. The Honourable the Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chairperson. From the 1st of April, we have formally established 2 departments. Staff has moved to electricity and energy. Staff has remained with mineral and petroleum. In moving that staff, we've also moved a number of entities that used to be in the DMRE. NEXA, NNR, SANET, NERSA, and NRWATI. All those 5 entities are now with electricity and energy. So I'm giving this explanation to illustrate that there's no conflict of interest between the 2 departments. We work very well. We talk when we must talk. For example, in the body of the question, there is a view that NERSA will be confused. There is no dual reporting of NERSA. NERSA is in electricity and energy. It doesn't report to mineral and petroleum. So this department was established in terms of Section 97 of the Constitution, where the President, through the Proclamation 179 of 2024, published in the Gazette of 3 August 2024, clearly defined legislative mandates of each of the ministers. And the Minister of Mineral and Petroleum Resources will exercise administration and powers and function entrusted by specified legislation related to mineral and petroleum, while electricity and energy will exercise powers and functions entrusted by specified legislation related to electricity and energy. There are no overlapping empowering provisions. In any event, any potential challenge of implementing the respective mandates will be resolved through cooperation by the 2 departments. We are open to one another. We engage openly. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Honourable Hassan, you may ask the first supplementary question.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Minister, thank you for that response. Maybe just to enhance and to follow up, you mentioned specifically around the dual reporting responsibilities not necessarily affecting it, but specifically when it comes to granting licenses or making decisions that necessitate approvals from both departments related to NERSA, what mechanisms are in place? But also, secondly, to ensure the conclusion, and you mentioned collaboration between the 2 departments, of formal interdepartmental agreements that would outline the regulatory authority, particularly in cases where the existing gas infrastructure falls under both acts and potentially both mandates. Thank you, Minister.
Honourable Minister.
I would imagine that confusion is about petroleum. Petroleum has a clear value chain. The primary value chain of petroleum, which is exploration and exploitation, is with mineral and petroleum. Processing is with petroleum and minerals. But when it is, you use the gas to generate electricity, it gets to the electricity and energy. Same applies to coal. When you do exploration and you mine coal, it is with mineral and petroleum, but when it must be transformed into electricity, it goes to electricity and energy. We don't have any conflicting interest with the Minister of Electricity and Energy. We work very well, we cooperate every time there is an issue. We talk if there needs be. That we do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable Members, the second supplementary question has been allocated to the Honourable Manye. Is there another member from the MK?
It will be asked by Honourable Mbata.
Please proceed, Honourable Member.
Minister, they say functions follow the money. With the advent of the new department starting its financial year, as of 2025-2026 financial year, what are the projected, or what is the projected budget for the new electricity and energy department? And what is the proclamation say about the transitional budget for this emerging department?
Honourable Minister.
The transition is over, Honourable Member. We're having 9 months of working together. There have been no problem. From the 1st of April, we are 2 independent departments whose budget is allocated.
Point of order, Chairperson. I'm not able to hear the Minister. Can he please be louder? We are not able to hear here.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Please raise your hand in the future if you want to.
The DA. No, the DA is making noise.
DA
it's not
making
me
noise
making noise. All I'm saying is the transition is over. For 9 months, we're working together in that transition, allocating resources to functions as we're working. From 1st of April, there are 2 distinct departments, and the budget allocation will be done in terms of the fiscal framework approved yesterday. Thank you.
Thank you. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable
Point of order, Chairperson. There was a specific question.
No, Honourable Member, you've not put up your hand. Do not unmute and start to speak. That's not in terms of the rules allowed. The Honourable Minister has responded. If you're not happy with his response, you can make a political statement outside of the House regarding that. Honourable Mtlangwini.
Thank you, Chair. It's Honourable Dlamini. Minister, our country is again experiencing shortage in gas. SFF bought shares into Aveda that could possibly see prospects of a gas pipeline with licensing and overlapping of 2 departments that could see delays in this project. What steps, if any, is the Minister taking to ensure that this does not happen?
Honourable Minister.
The projected gas cliff is projected to be in 2028. Currently, there's no shortage of gas currently. We're expecting that shortage in 2028, and we're looking into all options that are available to us. New discoveries in Mozambique, but we're also, in the next round of the cabinet, submitting the regulations for the shale gas so that we can lift the moratorium, and the discovery of 3.7 TCF of gas of the Mosul Bay coastline is also a potential solution to our potential problem by 2028. Thank you.
Thank you. The last supplementary question. I see a hand to my left. Honourable Member, why do you want to be recognised?
Honourable Chair, can you ask the outgoing GNU partners to keep it quiet? We want to have answers and we want to get all the explanations, please. The outgoing partners, please keep it quiet.
Yeah, thank you, Honourable Member. Maybe let's plead to all members. I've even seen in your own ranks a few members standing up and conversing. Let's keep the conversation levels low. I don't want to even say go to the tea room because that leads to its own problems. The last supplementary question opportunity is that of the Honourable Dlamini of the IFP.
Point of correction, Deputy Chair.
Yes.
Nompumelelo Mhlongo, not Dlamini.
Okay, please proceed.
Honorable Minister, regions like KwaZulu-Natal are experiencing economic strains due to mining sector decline, giving concern over regulatory overlaps. How is the government ensuring that delays in licensing and compliance approval do not discourage investment in gas-related projects that could stimulate job creation?
Thank you, Honourable Minister.
We haven't had a word from her. We haven't heard her.
Honourable Member, will you please repeat your question and maybe just speak closer to the mic?
Minister, regions like KwaZulu-Natal are experiencing economic strains due to mining sector decline, given concerns over regulatory overlaps. How is the government ensuring that delays in licensing and compliance approval do not discourage investment in gas-related projects that could stimulate job creation?
Honourable Minister.
Mining is a finite industry. If you have a mine, it has a lifespan. Newcastle, Vryheid, Utrecht, Danhausen, Dundee was once in a time a major coal mining area. Today is a secondary mining area. That concentration of coal mining has moved to Witbank and to Ellisras, Lephalale. So that movement must be expected, but the deposit of coal that we're having as a country, not as a province, will last up to 200 years mined at the rate that it is mined today. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable Members, question number 306 has been asked by the Honourable Lorimer to the Minister of Mineral and Petroleum Resources. The question is about the state of maintenance of the offshore oil and gas platforms that were used in the Mosgas project and the wells that were drilled during the course of the specified project. Honourable Minister.
There are efforts currently ongoing to maintain the safety. Was demolished and sold in January 2022. The FA platform production export of GTLR was stopped in December 2020 due to inadequate gas feedstock. In December 2020 to February 2024, the FA platform was operating mostly on one well for FA power generation and the GTLR flash system safety. In February 2024, FA platform was isolated from the wells, from all wells, and process plant was shut down and hydrocarbon purged. Some of the wells have died over the years, and a great number of them were still operational when the production was stopped, albeit low pressure and low rates. A production of oryx fields that was supported by the Orca FPSO was stopped in March 2013 due to reclassification of the Orca FPSO and depressed crude oil prices, rendering the operation uneconomical, and the field was not decommissioned. It was just closed and not decommissioned. So in other words, the platform in Mossel Bay is not operational as we speak now.
The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Lorimer.
Minister, I notice in your answer you didn't refer to the capping of the wells that have already been used. I'll follow that up, though, in a different forum. The handling by your administration, Minister, of this 11B, 12B discovery has been nothing short of cataclysmic. And we had another example of this yesterday when we revealed that the state oil company had missed its own launch date. Now, Total was offering to deliver a technologically groundbreaking project that would have incorporated the old existing infrastructure for which it would then have assumed environmental liability. It would have opened the way for some of the cheapest electricity to be produced in South Africa. Then you, or your department, or Petro SA, because it's not clear who took these decisions, got the calculation wrong on the price at which Total would sell gas. Because you forgot to figure in the reduction we would have got from tax receipts. You then refused Total's deal, and now you are left with a major environmental liability. You might like to tell us the cost to the state of that liability, but my question is, how are you now going to address that environmental liability, and by when?
Honourable Minister.
I think the first thing is to correct facts. I have outlined the scaling down and ultimately closing of the operations in Mossel Bay and the efforts to revive them. Maybe you will be interested, as I always know that the DA is, in the non-starting of the partnership with Gazprom. I'm not going to get to that, it's not your question. But you are making a big mistake by saying, yesterday we made it a disaster. We didn't start SANPC on the 1st of April as scheduled because there is a labor dispute which is resolved. The agreement will be signed tonight and tomorrow an announcement will be formally made. So there's no disaster there. There's progress we're making and we're nudging that process to go to full production. So rehabilitation is inherent in the cost of running a plant like Petro SA. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Sene.
Thank you, House Chair. Honourable Minister, in ensuring security of supplies, what are the detailed plans to refurbish and maintain the Mosgas offshore platforms, including cost estimates and projected production capacity after completion of the plans? And how will this project's infrastructure be integrated into SANPEC's mandate to centralize state-owned hydrocarbon assets? Thank you, House Chair.
Honourable Minister.
May she please repeat? I didn't hear a word.
Honourable Member, please stay seated and just speak into the mic and repeat the question.
Okay, House Chair, thank you very much. Honourable Minister, in ensuring security of supplies, what are the detailed plans to refurbish and maintain the Mosgas offshore platforms, including cost estimates and projected production capacity after the completion of the plans? And how will this project's infrastructure be integrated into SANPEC's mandate to centralize state-owned hydrocarbon assets? Thank you, House Chair.
Honourable Minister.
I will try. I'm estimating what she's saying. The reality is refining capacity in South Africa has declined. There are only 2 refineries that are operational. One is in Cape Town and the other one is in Sasol, Napref. The rest of the refineries have been closed down. As the state were intervening, we're trying to revive both Petro SA and SAPREF. We got SAPREF from Shell and BP. We are reviving it. We are looking for partners to work with us to revive them. We are hoping that if we get those 2 refineries coming, we'll deal with the question of security of supply. Because to depend on imported finished products is a risk to the economy. We want to have that supplemented heavily by refining capacity within the country. And that talks to the issue of the petrol of gas that was given to us by Total, which is said to be cheap. Total offered gas from their 3.7 TCF discovery to both Petro SA and Eskom. Both companies refused because Total wanted us to buy that gas at above market cost, which is offloading a risk to the state rather than taking the necessary risk of operating a facility. Thank you.
Thank you. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Selepe.
Thank you, House Chair. Minister, considering the critical role that the Moss Gases project plays in South Africa's energy landscape, can you provide an update on the current maintenance scheduled and budget allocation for the offshore oil and gas platforms, as well as the well drilled during the project, and confirm whether any plans are in place to extend the lifespan of these assets? Thank you, House Chair.
Honourable Minister.
In answering this question at the beginning, we said in South Africa, the gas cliff is estimated in 2028. The reason for that is we're wholly dependent on imported gas for our survival. Unless we make our discoveries and convert them to commercial entities, that risk remains with us. For example, if you have your 3.77 by Total, it will stand there until it is converted into commercial value. And if we can get people interested in the shale gas in the Karoo, that will be converted into commercial value. But at this point in time, our capacity is suspect. We depend on imported gas up to now.
Thank you. The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Zibi.
Thank you, House Chair. Minister, can you provide an estimated cost and timelines for the revival of our refining capacity that you referred to just now while answering one of the previous questions?
Honourable Minister.
If wishes were horses, we will all ride, Honourable Zibi. The reality of the matter is, SAPREF, there's work happening there. That facility was destroyed by waves and rain. In KZN, we bought it for R1. I can tell you, I can expose the cost. It was R1, but it is the cost that is on the paper. The hidden cost of the liability that goes with a destroyed facility is quite high. We're working on that. We're hoping that that entity will be operational within the next 5 years. The same applies to Petro SA. Petro SA is 3 plants. If we can get the first plant working within the next 3 years, we will count ourselves lucky. That is what we're investing in.
Thank you. Honourable members, question number 314 has been asked by the Honourable Subrathi to the Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies. The question is about measures that have been implemented to address State Information Technology Agency's governance and operational issues, and how its capability is being enhanced to offer efficient and cost-effective ICT services in accordance with its mandate. The Honourable the Minister.
Thanks very much, House Chair. The question has 2 elements which will be covered by one answer, and that being the fact that in recognition of the governance challenges that have engulfed the institution, particularly around procurement deficiencies, high turnover of executives, and inability to meet the ICT needs of various government departments, we have approached the Public Service Commission to conduct an investigation to relook at the developments within CETA over the last 5 years, because it's been an organization that has been handicapped by governance challenges, which have morphed into the level of delivery dissatisfaction that is prevalent across government. That investigation is currently ongoing. We met recently, as last week, with the Public Service Commission to get a sense of the approach that they will be taking in conducting the investigation. And what we'll do is ultimately refocus the institution on enhancing good governance into the institution, making sure that the procurement issues that have long held back the institution from reaching the level of satisfaction within the state are addressed, and also ensuring that we deal with the content station for the lucrative business that happens in SETA, which informs a lot of the malfeasance and corruption that has happened into the institution. Thanks, Chair.
Honorable Subrathi, you may ask the first supplementary question.
Thank you, House Chair. House Chair, the Minister is on record as saying that he will soon be gazetting regulations that will allow for circumstances for which procurement through SETA will not be required, where procurement through SETA will not be required if the Minister is satisfied that there is a strong business case. Now, government, as the Minister has indicated, has failed in terms of ensuring digitalization as a state as well as in public service. And there has been a lack of standardization and interoperability between government systems and a huge amount of fragmentation. And given the fact if this door is open to source outside SETA, and SETA has a mandate to maintain certain mandatory systems, how does the Minister intend to ensure that there is coherence and alignments across the IT systems of government? And what guarantees can the Minister give us that the security of state information will not be compromised if procurement is allowed outside SETA? Thank you, House Chair.
Honorable Minister.
Thanks, Honorable Subrathi. That is an important question. The reality of the matter is that the SETA Act as it is makes provisions for exemptions to be sought from the Minister. The problem with those is that it makes it on an ad hoc basis. And if you were to conduct a survey across the entirety of government around client satisfaction on SETA's capacity, you'll seldom find any government department with 100% satisfaction on that. And the reality of what we are dealing with over and beyond that dissatisfaction is that SETA has a role to play in setting standards, as you correctly point out, and ensuring that there is interoperability. It is equally important to empower government departments with the option, if they are able to present a sound business case, if they are able to showcase that at a cheaper cost, at a quicker turnaround time, they can procure the very same type of services that SETA could. But unfortunately, because of its costing, because of its turnaround times, it's unable to meet those demands. As part of that, last year, we wrote in terms of the SETA Act to all the executive authorities because we are compelled to consult with them. We got those responses, and the next stage was to get the concurrence of the Finance Minister in finalizing those regulations. The Finance Minister has given his concurrence with some amendments. We've incorporated this amendment, and the stage that we are in at is for the Director General to ensure that the regulations are then gazetted so that departments, in the event that they are able to present a sound business case, a case that is at a lower cost and also at a quicker turnaround times, they are able to procure over and beyond SETA. With regards to your concern around national
Honourable
security...
Minister, unfortunately your time has now expired. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Matutlalwa.
Thank you very much. Chairperson, Minister, ngaphandle kwezimpendulo zakho as a general, we want to ask you this specific question. Following the forensic report that found that the awarding of the IT tender to provide network to schools in the Western Cape was unfair, irregular, and uncompetitive. Is there a progress in relation to cancelling the 1.2 billion tender, which is said to have been awarded irregularly to Blue Network Consortium and involves alleged interference by the officials at SETA and the Western Cape Education Department? Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Honourable Minister.
Thanks for that question. The reality of the fact is that that report that the honourable member is referring to found no wrongdoing on the part of officials in the Western Cape. And there's this attempt, particularly by that honourable member's party, to try and draw a link between the department and what happened with that. The reality is SETA made the recommendation upon which the Western Cape Department made the appointment of the service provider per se. So since there's been no legal basis for the termination of that contract, there is no need to terminate it. The real question should be, why is the member so interested in ensuring that a legitimate contract is not abided to? Thanks, Chair.
The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Sitole.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. Honourable Minister, given the past report of inefficiency and procurement irregularities within SETA, what concrete steps has the department taken to improve governance structures in order to improve accountability mechanism that ought to be in place to prevent mismanagement? Thank you.
Honourable Minister.
Sorry. Thanks very much, Babu Stoll. Besengicabanga ukuthi lo mbuzo ngiwuphendulile mangikala ngalo buzo Honourable Subrathi, but lo sukwenzayo manje ukuthi njengoba ngishilo ukuthi kune investigation lenziwe Public Service Commission. That investigation seeks to address the very same issues that you are addressing around the governance challenges that are happening there. At the very same time, while that investigation is going place, we have mandated the interim board that is at place now to ensure that all the governance structures are established, and we have increased the oversight from the ministry and the department through the entity oversight component of our department to ensure that all governance structures once are reviewed and looked at to ensure that they abide with all the good governance practices, and also that we as the department conduct the oversight, which in previous times did not always happen as robustly as it should have happened, which led to the circumstances that have contributed to the state of the entity right now. Nyabong.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Botlane.
Thank you, House Chairperson. Chairperson, let us welcome your intervention on taking the matter of the governance of SETA to the PSC. My question to you, Honourable Minister, is that SETA has been cited as a hindrance by the different departments that rely on it for IT services. Noting your reply that we are looking for cheaper and cost-effective ways to provide services to South African citizens, and based on your interactions with the National Treasury, what are the relevant details of devolving SETA services to the various government departments?
Honourable Minister.
Thanks, House Chair. So the intervention that the regulation seeks to address is in the event that the departments are able, in line with all the government procurement processes, to present a credible business case that showcase that the type of ICT services that they seek from SETA can be procured at a price lower than SETA's, at a turnaround time quicker than SETA's. They may be empowered to do so. It is not necessarily to devolve those powers, because SETA still has to play a key role, and that role, as I said into the response to Honourable Subrathi, is about the setting of those standards around ICT needs and services and how they should be procured, and their interoperability across the ecosystem of government. The issue here is there has to be efficiency in procurement of ICT services. And the majority of government departments say, and this is the general sentiment across all the spheres of government that interact with SETA, that SETA's processes often leave them handicapped and as a result exposed to being able to meet their needs. So there should be an avenue that empowers them to be able to seek those services elsewhere on the basis, which is the most important part here, on the basis that they are still compliant with all the procurement requirements, on the basis that their cost will be lower, and that they can procure those at a time faster and more competitive than SETAs. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Question number 276, honourable members, has been asked by the Honourable Ghana to the Minister of Employment and Labour. The question is about the categories of businesses that were found to have employed undocumented foreign nationals and the reasons that were given for deciding to employ undocumented foreign nationals. The Honourable the Minister.
Thank you, House Chair. Thank you, Honourable Ghana. Whilst there are various ways of classifying and categorizing information in labour markets, the manner in which we do it in the department is per industry sectors. To that end, categories of businesses that were inspected and found to have employed...
Honourable Minister, just hold on for a moment, please. Honourable Reddy, why do you want to be recognised?
Honourable Chairperson of the House, I rise in terms of Rule 83. Now, some of these ministers are really making a mockery of this glorified speech contest. Here is a minister who is just reading, like the previous ministers there, indicating they have no knowledge of the subject matter.
Yeah,
and these ministers don't...
Honourable Reddy. Thank you, Honourable Reddy. Honourable Reddy. Thank you. Yeah, no, thank you, Honourable Reddy. I've heard you. Firstly, Rule 83 refers to speeches. The minister is now giving an answer, and of course, in respect of the first question on the question paper, ministers have notice of that question. Honourable Minister, please proceed. Order, honourable members. As it is, everybody is all the time complaining about the noise levels. If we don't defer to the minister, we won't hear anything as it is. Honourable Minister, my apologies. Honourable Deputy Minister, do you want to be recognised?
Thank you so much, House Chair. I was just going to draw your attention so that you also correct that member that he must not shout at me. How long it's allowed, it's on the rules, by the way, so you must check your rule book. That's the first thing. Secondary, to say that ministers are allowed to read the answer. Because you ask the question, then they must read the answer, then they follow up. They should be able to answer.
Honourable Deputy Minister, thank you. I have dealt with that part of the question. All members, may I plead with you to give the executive the opportunity to answer. Honourable Minister Mantashe, do you want to be recognised?
Honourable Reddy must just understand that questions do get circulated to ministers. And we prepare answers so that we don't come and mock Parliament. But follow-up questions we don't read because we don't receive them. Yeah.
Yeah,
but
thank you.
If we are given a question, we prepare and we read the answer because we don't want to give a mockery of your question.
Thank you, Honourable Minister Mantashe. I think that has been clarified already. Honourable Minister, please proceed. I want to give you the opportunity to start afresh. May the timer please be restored. Honourable Minister, just start from the beginning with your answer again, please.
Thank you, House Chair. The Honourable Member is the best howler of the year. I was saying, Honourable Chair, whilst there are various ways of classifying and categorizing information in the labour market, the manner in which our department analyzes the information in terms of categories is per industry sectors. Categories of businesses that were inspected and found to have employed undocumented foreign nationals are as follows: manufacturing, hospitality, agriculture, construction, wholesale and retail, clothing manufacturing, road freight. The following are some of the reasons that were given for deciding not to employ South Africans or employ undocumented foreign nationals. The common reason provided by many employers for employing undocumented foreign nationals is that the employers are unaware, or the employer was unaware of the individual's undocumented status, as well as the employer's requirements for hard labor force that South Africans cannot provide, whilst the employers are taking advantage of these employees because of their lack of knowledge on labor laws. Whilst the above are typical reasons that have been provided, we have observed that undocumented foreign nationals are preferred due to their sheer vulnerability. Ordinarily, such workers either do not know their rights and or are afraid to stand up for themselves. They are most likely to allow themselves to work in an environment that is substandard and is marked with gross non-compliance with employment laws and a total disregard for workers' rights. They tend to accept any sort of remuneration given to them, which would often be below the prescribed minimum wage. These malpractices are also prevalent in areas that have a low unionization rate. These exploitations are also feeding off work environments that have no unions at all. My department believes in the value of meaningful partnerships where we have strong presence of organized labor. Workers tend to have a stronger voice and are enabled to stand up for their rights. This is in keeping with the principles of decent work. Thank you, House Chair.
Honorable Ghana.
Nakenza Mtramashtul, Nakenza Olod. From your response and the reasons that have been given, it's difficult to believe that to be the case. So I want to check on one hand, what is your department doing to make it easier for the sectors that you quoted to employ South Africans? Linked to that, has there been an employer that you visited, they were not compliant, and you did a secondary visit, and they are still not compliant? What did you do about that? Thanks very much.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. It is for that reason that we are bringing to Cabinet in few days to come the National Labour Migration Policy and the Employment Services South Africa Amendment Bill, which makes it compulsory for employers to preserve some categories of jobs for South Africans. Again, on the issue of going back for the second time, we've got just more than 2,000 inspectors who are supposed to inspect more than 10,000 companies. Again, it is for that reason that we have since decided to have a special project we are calling the Labour Inspector Intense, the Project 20,000, where we'll be engaging the young unemployed graduates who are relevant to the work that we are doing on inspection to come and work with us as interns at least for 2 years to bolster our capacity while we are trying to get the sustainable way of even using technology to inspect without having to physically visit those companies, as there are much too many as compared to the capacity that we currently have. And it gets difficult for our inspectors to go this year and still go back maybe the same year. Thank you, Honorable House Chair.
The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Bagrime.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The employment of foreign nationals is a problem, but this was due to past ministers of Home Affairs who couldn't do their job. They had an inability to do anything at all. You will find that the situation has improved with the current leadership that we have in Home Affairs. However, you, Minister, are in control of the inspectors. In fact, you are training a further 10,000, as you just told us. However, you have focused on employment equity and BEE instead of tackling the problem of foreign nationals. You're doing nothing about it. Isn't it about time that the inspectorate concentrate on real issues and not equity? Unemployment and expanded definition is now at 42%, and it's getting worse on your watch. Maybe rather concentrate on creating an environment for job creation in the private sector. Thank you.
Honourable Minister.
Thank you so much, Honourable Member, and thank you for showing to South Africans that you are hell-bent to fight against transformation. We, as the Department of Employment and Labour, not just focus on BEE and equity, we focus on all labour laws. We are also a Department of Employment and Labour. Therefore, you can't talk employment if you don't talk business. It is for that reason that we've got an interest also on the laws that talk to those companies who undermine the laws, in particular the Employment Equity Act, because it is the employers who must implement or who must comply with these laws in order for us to be sure that our workers are protected, their rights are protected, and also there is opportunity given to those previously disadvantaged individuals, including women, people with disability, and in particular the issue of the racial discrepancies that we find in the system, where the majority of those who ascend to positions of power, in particular in the private sector, are the white males, instead of having equity and ensuring that there is an appreciation of South Africa that says everybody should be treated equally. Thank you, Honourable Chair.
The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Rourke.
Thank you, Chair. Minister, many major companies in the food and transport industry as delivery services. The majority employees seems to be foreign nationals. How are these companies being inspected and held accountable? Thank you.
Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Chair. I agree with the Honourable Member that the food industry and the transport industries are also found to be wanting in terms of compliance. And as such, we are partnering, one, with the private sector to engage them. In particular, if you look at the issue of pick and pays of this world and others, who you find them on the 60-60 program as an example, employing almost more than 90% of foreign nationals. We are hoping with the coming into being of the National Labour Migration Policy, which I said earlier on is to be serving before the Cabinet, we shall be able to have teeth to enforce the law and ensuring that those who continue to undermine the issue of prioritizing South Africans and also of ensuring that if you employ foreign nationals, it must be documented foreign nationals, will be dealt with once our National Labour Migration policy comes into effect. Because it's not enough to just look at those who are undocumented. It is not correct for the business people to always prioritize foreign nationals, even in the skills that are not highly technical, skills that are not scarce skills, that we are supposed to be giving to the South Africans. Because majority of those who are even legal in South Africa, they find themselves working in areas where we believe South Africans should be given an opportunity to work on those areas. So we shall be dealing with those issues and focusing on those industries that the Honourable Member has identified. Thank you, Chair.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Ngubeni.
Thank you, House Chair. Perhaps let me underscore our question by emphasizing that despite the new DA-led Doomsday Coalition's word of the week being Action SA, ours is clarity. And so we trust that
Both this House and the people of South Africa are now clear following our press conference this morning. Minister, amid the debate on the budget framework, calls for the courts to blur the lines of the principle of separation of powers, juxtaposed by efforts to shield the public from further taxation due to past mismanagement of state resources. Are we not overlooking a critical tax revenue stream as large companies continue to employ undocumented foreign nationals, given issues of capital flight, tax collection, inefficiencies, and the illicit economy? Thank you.
Honourable Minister.
I think the time has come for me also to shift the response to the question by the member to my honourable member of the Minister of Finance, because I don't understand why the honourable member is addressing the question about tax issues to me, and I think the honourable Minister of Finance is better placed to answer to that question. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable Members, during the sitting of 14 November 2024, the Minister of Public Service and Administration, in responding to a statement made by the Honourable Member Mchunu in her question, referred to the statement made by the Honourable Member as, and I quote, "Imbudane." The Honourable Manye raised a point of order, citing Rule 92, read with Rule 85, and argued that the Minister's use of the term "Imbudane" was unparliamentary and disrespectful, claiming that it meant that the Honourable Member was talking nonsense. He requested that the Minister be ordered to withdraw the remark. In the unrevised Hansard, the Minister of Public Service and Administration is recorded as saying the following, and I quote, "Firstly, Honourable Chairperson, in responding to the Honourable Member, I want to say that even if a spear stabs someone, be careful as it might stab you too. By saying that we have deserted our people and that we chose to align ourselves with capitalists is nonsense and not true. I believe that you can hear how untrue that is. The truth is." End of quote. Now, Honourable Members, according to Rule 82, members must refer to each other in respectful terms, and Rule 84 prohibits the use of offensive or insulting language. Furthermore, Rule 85 extends this prohibition to prevent members from casting reflections on the dignity or integrity of others. Honourable Members would also be aware that over the last 30 years, the use of the word nonsense have, in some instances, been ruled as unparliamentary language, whilst in other instances it was not ruled as such. This is because the context in which words and terms are used is important. It is standard practice for presiding officers when making a ruling to take into account the tone and the context in which a remark was made. In this case, it was taken into account that although ultimately the dictionary translation was used in compiling the Hansard, it was also considered that due to the tone and context provided by the balance of the statement of the Minister on the day, it should be considered to rather translate the word "Imbudane" as irrational. The Minister's use of the word "Imbudane", nonsense, was directed at the reasoning behind the statement made that they have deserted their people and aligned with capitalists, rather than being an attack on the member. Nonetheless, it is important to remind both the Minister and, in fact, all members to be mindful of the words they use so as not to create a situation where there may be created a perception of a personal attack. Thank you. Honourable Ngubeni, did you want to be recognized?
Thank you, House Chair. I just want to place it on record that the Minister did not answer my question and that she passed the buck. And there's nothing wrong if you don't have an answer to say that you don't have an answer and you will come back. But for her to be flippant and say it must be...
It is not permitted in terms of the rules to engage the Minister further after you had an opportunity to ask a question. I heard the Minister respond, even though response might not have been what you have wanted. The response was that this is a question rather to be asked to the Minister of Finance. Honourable Members, we move on. Question number 315 has been asked by the Honourable Gancho to the Minister of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment. The question is about how the department plans to support existing and new conservation areas in becoming functional, given the lack of funding, staffing and enforcement. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honourable Gancho. In terms of the National Environmental Management Protected Areas Act, Section 8, conservation and management of protected areas is a concurrent function and responsibility is shared between the national, provincial and local government. The Minister is responsible for the oversight on national parks and Isimangaliso Wetland Authority, which is governed in terms of the World Heritage Convention Act and the National Botanical and Zoological Gardens managed by South African National Biodiversity Institute. The Minister is responsible for ensuring adequate financial resources to the department and the entities annually within the medium-term expenditure framework cycle. Provincial protected areas are responsible of respective members of the Executive Council, the MECs, for environment. We have supported existing conservation by undertaking an analysis of the state of the protected areas through the following studies since 2010, namely a review of the institutional arrangements for management of protected areas, that was in 2010, sustainable financing frameworks for management authorities of state managed protected areas 2015, performance and revenue review of provincial nature reserves, that's 2018, that was conducted by the National Treasury, Biodiversity Financial, that's BioFin programs, 2018, to identify and catalyze financial solutions. Management Effectiveness Tracking Tool, introduction to both national and provincial protected areas to assess whether the areas are effectively managed. Financial support through the Extended Protective Infrastructure Program, and approximately 100 million rand from 2021 to 23 was allocated to provincial protected areas for infrastructure investment. The Minister established the Ministerial Task Team to look at the financial complexities faced by provincial management authorities and set to prevent findings and recommendations to Cabinet Committee for consideration. At a technical level, situations facing provincial protected areas are discussed in the Protected Areas Technical Task Team, which meets twice a year to review progress in terms of expansion and spatial issues, land use conflicts, boundary verification, state forest transfers, validation and verification of private nature reserves. Due to financial constraints that face protected areas, the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment has introduced the investment portal where bankable projects related to protected area management are loaded for potential investment and financing. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The first supplementary question will be asked by Honourable Kanchu.
Thank you, House Chair. Honourable Minister, given the financial constraints and limitations, has the department considered fully capacitating and equipping the existing conservation sites first, so as to ensure that they function optimally before adding new ones? If not, can you tell
Honourable
us why?
Kanchu,
and if yes,
can you please
can you share the details?
hold? There's a hand. Honourable Reddy. Honourable Reddy, did you have your hand up? No, continue, Honourable Kanchu. I'm sorry.
Can I start, Honourable Chair, because I was interrupted? Honourable Minister, given the financial constraints and limitations, has the department considered fully capacitating and equipping the existing conservation sites first, so as to ensure that they function optimally before adding new ones? If not, can the Minister tell us why? And if yes, can you share the details? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much for that question. Yes, indeed. I think it would make sense for us to focus on those areas that are already proclaimed so that they can become everything that they can become, because there has been a backlog. But I think also crucially, we have made commitments to make sure that we're going to increase the conservation estate in South Africa. So that's the 30 by 30, not only on land, but also in our marine areas. So we have set that objective. But in terms of the finances, obviously finances are constrained because our economy is not growing. That is the reason, the fundamental reason why money is so short. So what we're looking at is how do we reprioritize to make sure that we can get the local communities involved as well, so that it becomes a mega living landscape and not a so-called lock-up conservation concept. So how do you then get communities that are close to the areas to capacitate and also to leverage economic activity of our natural assets? So that's the one part. The other part is the very exciting events that happened at COP29 in Baku, which passed basically Article 6 in the Paris Agreement, which now permits us to look at carbon markets. Now, what South Africa has, especially in our conservation areas, is massive natural assets that we can leverage off. So, for example, if we quantify the value of our natural assets, we can then sell carbon credits, for example, into the markets, depending on what our nationally determined contribution is, which we will set this year before COP30. So, in the financial space, it is possible for us to leverage those carbon sinks that exist in our green spaces towards conservation. So that's a major innovation that the department has already started. SANBI and SANParks is already busy with the quantification of that process. So yes, absolutely, there is a backlog, but we are absolutely committed to getting the communities connected and getting money leveraged off our carbon markets when we can now through the carbon, the Climate Change
Minister,
Act.
your time has expired. The second supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Diplok van Sheltinga.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Minister, you, in your last answer to Honourable Gunshaw, alluded to the mega living landscapes concept.
Honorable Diplok, can you please hold? Honorable Reddy.
House Chair, please advise. I'm a bit worried. Some of the ministers here are talking long because they might not be here tomorrow as ministers. I just want to know, the 180 there, is that not 180 minutes? So if we have 180 minutes, that means from 2 o'clock to now, it's past 180 minutes. Am I right?
You are correct,
I just
Honorable
want some
Reddy.
clarity, please. Thank you.
You are correct. I will advise you. It is 180 minutes that is provided for 3 hours. But if we start a question before 5 o'clock, we cannot then not finish the whole question of supplementary questions. We must finish that and then move on to the next item, of which we will do that when we finish with this question. Thank you very much. Honorable Diplok.
Thank you, House Chair. I appreciate Honourable Reddy is late for dinner, so I'll be brief. Could the Minister indicate how the mega living landscapes concept would create economic growth and build sustainable livelihoods by consolidating fragmented nature reserves in South Africa, the Eastern Cape and Northern KwaZulu-Natal in particular? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much for the question. Yes, absolutely. The idea is that we want to consolidate as much as we possibly can, because it doesn't make sense to have pockets of conservation land and then other activities in between. So there are organizations such as the World Wildlife Fund that are assisting in our sandparks, for example, in purchasing pockets of land where the boundaries aren't fitting so nicely. So, for example, what they would do is identify where there are earths and where it is not conservation, but it's between land that is conservation, and then we can get that into the conservation estate. So that's working very nicely, and that is also contributing towards the expansion of the conservation state. Also, which is very important, is that land then is held in trust in perpetuity, which means that the community can always benefit on that, and that land would never be used for other purposes other than conservation. But what does happen is that the community can leverage off that land. So it's not only contribution to conservation, but it's also a contribution to economic development and upliftment. And that's a very exciting prospect, and over time, we're looking at all of the conservation areas to ensure that we can get the boundaries more evenly defined. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The third supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Managa.
Ndolibua House Chair, given the challenges of inadequate funding, poor staffing and enforcement in many existing conservation areas, and what you just outlined, Minister, we need specific financial, legislative, as well as capacity building measures that your department is planning to implement to ensure that both existing and new conservation areas are effectively managed and contribute meaningfully towards the attainment of 30 by 30 targets. I've been listening attentively to majority of the questions by previous members. They do center around employment opportunities for our people. Mr. Minister, what specific strategies and initiatives is your department implementing to create sustainable employment opportunities within conservation areas to ensure that local communities benefit from the conservation-related economic activities
Honorable
in their own
Managa,
areas?
your time has
Thank you.
expired. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much for the question. I think there were a few questions in there, so I'll attempt to hit on all of them if I can. In terms of the adequate financing for enforcement, yes, we know we have an issue with poaching, specifically on our rhino, our abalone, our pangolin, and our plants. But we obviously do have plans for all of those, because what we need to do is we need to disrupt the criminal syndicates that are operating in that space, and we are talking internationally for additional funding. So we are working on that at speed. Also, the question was about how we connect our local communities to our conservation estate. Now, that's very important. We have a number of plans involved. I can actually send you more detail in writing because there's a number of initiatives. But one of the areas that I think we can be particularly proud of is the work, for example, that's been done at the Isimangaliso wetland in KwaZulu-Natal, is that we've been focusing on making sure that the communities around the park can, for example, get involved in laundries. So, for example, there's guests that go into the park, the community run laundries, the laundry comes out, it gets washed, and so people make a lot of money out of that, which is great. But also at the same time, people recognize that if we don't have assets to be viewed by visitors, for example, then we're not going to have income streams. So that also protects our wildlife very significantly. On the legislative and capacity building, yes, we are very much animated by the fact that we need to make sure that our natural assets are leveraged to the benefit of our people. We know we've got massive unemployment, poverty, inequality, and we are very focused on that, specifically on people that have been marginalized and previously disadvantaged. So, for example, we focus very much on women and people with disabilities and also communities that have been left behind. Because what happened over time was that communities got disconnected from the national assets, and we want to reconnect the communities because of that dispossession. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The last supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Sithole.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Minister, considering the significant role that local communities played in the success of conservation areas, how does the department plan to engage and empower these communities to actively contribute to the management and sustainability sustainability of both existing and new conservation areas? I thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, the Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much for that question. We are very animated by the fact that things are not happening in isolation. So there are human beings that are living close to wildlife, for example, or other natural assets, and it doesn't make any sense for them to be not integrated. So our model basically focuses on looking at saying, what are the communities that are close by to the assets? How do we make sure that they can leverage off them, we can connect to them, and in that way, we engage with communities. So we actually have got, specifically Deputy Minister Singh, that's one of his allocations, is he talks to the communities that are close to these assets. So that's working very nicely. Also, particularly an example I can give you is that there have been land claims in the Kruger Park. There's one at the moment, so I won't go into a lot of detail on it, but essentially what we try to do is to say that if there is this claim, how do we then connect the people to the land that they were dispossessed of, but at the same time keep the park sustainable? So in instances, people do not want to actually live in the park, obviously, but they want to get the benefit from it. So we're looking at those models of how do we actually make sure that the people that were in fact dispossessed, how do they then get an asset that's buildable, that can actually be annuity income over time, and then they can build it over generations, so that the generations don't get disconnected from the land, and also they get the financial benefit to which they are entitled. So there's a number of initiatives, and I'm hoping very soon to be making an announcement on one of the larger Kruger claims. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable members, the time allocated for questions has expired. Outstanding replies received will be printed in Hansard. Furthermore, honourable members, you will recall that last week during questions from Cluster 3 Governance addressed to the Minister of Public Service and Administration stood over in terms of Rule 144, Roman figure 2. These questions will be taken out of cluster today in terms of Rule 138, Roman figure 5. Consequently, an additional 30 minutes will be added to today's question time for this purpose as provided in terms of Rule 138, Roman figure 5b. I now take question number 236, which has been asked by Honourable J.N. de Villiers to the Minister of Public Service and Administration. The question is about total number of departments that are complying with the compulsory lifestyle audit and not complying. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair. May I ask for indulgence for a minute before I address the questions? Last week...
Continue, Minister.
Yes, last week there was an issue of my absence here, which suggested that I don't respect this House together with the Deputy Minister. Therefore, I think I should address this and apologize to the two particular members of MK for being hospitalized, and to tell them also, rather take them into my confidence, to say the previous day when I was here, it was out of total respect of this House, because the DM had a serious challenge also. I had to ask for a pass out in hospital to come and present the bill. Therefore, there is a serious question that this House needs to explain as to how can those who are an offspring of corruption, total compromised character, and also lack of integrity can judge those who are an embodiment of honesty and integrity. I do also want to thank Honourable Swart for defending me in that particular day, but those two members should ask themselves this particular question, because we know who they are and where they are coming from. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. We cannot engage in that. Now we'll be dealing with questions, but we appreciate the apology that you have forwarded, but we will not engage in that discussion now. We'll go straight to the question that I have read, and I will give you now an opportunity to respond to that.
Thank you. In as far as the number of departments complying, nationally we've got 42 rather out of 46, which equals to 91% of compliance, and 99 out of 111 departments in provinces, which equals to 89%. In terms of the law, and specifically at Public Administration Management Act 2024, state-owned entities are not required to provide information to DPSA because our mandate does not extend to them. Also, in relation to the second part of the question, as at the end of January 2025, the following departments nationally were found not to comply, which are 4. That is military veteran, IPID, public works and infrastructure, and science and innovation. Provincially, we've got 12 which are not complying. Gauteng has 2, which is agriculture and rural development, road and transport. Limpopo has 3, which is corporate governance, human settlement and child affairs, education and provincial treasury. Mpumalanga has 1, which is human settlement, and Northwest has 4, which is cooperative governance and international affairs, human settlement, the office of the premier, and social development. Northern Cape has also 1, which is transport and safety and liaison. Western Cape has also 1, which is local government. I must also place on record that the state security agents is not under the obligation to also report their lifestyle information to DPSA for similar reasons that our mandate does not extend to them. However, Chair, our department tries to assist departments that are struggling in terms of the template as to how they can report, and also we send staff physically to go and help them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The first supplementary question will be asked by Honorable de Villiers.
Thank you very much, Chair. The government approved compulsory guidelines for audits on public servants in both national and provincial departments in terms of lifestyle audits. For them to be successful, there needs to be consequences for public servants who fail these lifestyle audits and departments that fail to implement the audits. What consequence management will you be doing to ensure that lifestyle audits are implemented successfully? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister.
It is our commitment, Honorable Member, that all departments comply. However, it will be difficult to preempt as to why those departments didn't comply. As I've said, that those that are not complying, we are investigating and following up on them as to what are not. Some have some challenges which need support, hence we are giving support. But those that are complying without valid reasons, of course, consequence management will be applied. Thank you.
Thank you. The second supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Malinga.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's Honorable Matutu.
Continue, Honorable Member.
Mandibulise kumZantsi Afrika mbambo zonke zomhlaba nganga nentsiba zayo. Umbuzo wam kuMinister. Ingaba Minister unayona imandate yokwenza i-lifestyle audit ko-Minister. Xa unayo uyenza nini na i-lifestyle audit? Xa ungenayo uzoba nayo nini na? Kaloku ubona ominister sebenefama nezindlu ezibizayo abe engaphansi umrholo wabo kwimali abanayo, imali abanayo. Minister, singumkhonto wesizwe asihambelani nobusela. Naba iphalaphala sifuna benziwe i-lifestyle audit. Ndiyabulela.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Minister.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu kumhlonishwa ngombuzo. Cha, umnyango lo wakwa DPSA awugamanxeli kongqongqoshe njengoba nawe wazi ukuthi kongqongqoshe bakhashwa umongameli. Ngakho ke okwamanje awukho umthetho othi singagamanxa kulokho. Siyavumelana sonke ukuthi ke inkohlakalo into esingayithandi. Siyakuzwa ke futhi nokubeka ukuthi ongqongqoshe laba babonakala benomcebo ongaphezulu kwezinkece abanazo. Mhlawumbe kodwa asazi ke noma ubenasi ucwaningo lwakho ukuthi ukubheke lokho bese ufumana iqiniso ngalokho, ngoba kukhona oluhlangothi esilwaziyo thina lokuthi kukhona iqembu eli-embodiment of corruption and all related matters, and leyo qembu kalikwazi ukuhamba phambili lisole ongqongqoshe ngokuba ba-corrupting ngekho i-evidence, kanti thina ngapha sinayo evidence ukuthi leyo qembu lelo lisunguleke kanjani. Ngiyabonga.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The third supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Qilishe.
Thank you very much, Chair. Minister, given the widespread concerns about transparency and accountability, can you provide a detailed breakdown of the reasons behind the non-compliance of certain departments with the compulsory lifestyle audit, and outline any actions being taken to hold these departments accountable for failing to adhere to these guidelines? Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair, and also for the member. As I said, that is our commitment that all departments comply. And if you look at the numbers, we can safely say many departments are complying, and that should be a credit to the departments themselves for enforcing lifestyle audit. But however, we want to have 100%. In those areas where we are lacking, I've mentioned that some of those departments are not because there is a mischief that has been identified, but it's because of lack of capacity. And the department is providing such help. But in those cases where we found that there is an issue, we can then provide those information to the member of that particular finding about that particular individual. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The last supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Thring.
Thank you, House Chair. Honorable Minister, on behalf of Honorable Swart, the ACGP is pleased to see that you have recovered from your illness. Minister, this House unanimously supported the Public Service Commission bill recently, which intends to assist the Commission in ensuring a corrupt-free and capable public service. One of the ways of achieving this is lifestyle audits, which from 1 April 2021 are compulsory for all national provincial departments and guided by Regulation 22 of the Public Service Act of 1993. In view of this, the ACDP finds it regrettable that this compulsory guideline is yet to be fully complied with. Now, Minister, given that at the end of March 2024, the Hawks were carrying out some 18,000 cases covering all types of crime, and only 5,600 of these were before the courts, is the Minister not concerned that when lifestyle audits trigger criminal investigations, there is an inordinate delay in finalizing these matters and recovering ill-gotten gains, with public servants often suspended on full pay? If so, is the Honourable Minister engaging with the Ministers of Police Justice to expedite these matters? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Of course, the member will appreciate that we are all concerned about the number of cases which are not finalized. But that does not really speak to the department, because we all know that matters of prosecution and all the likes form part of the Justice Department. However, we do have engagements from time to time in making sure that we really fast-track those. And we must also remember that the Department of Justice itself has a number of challenges in terms of staffing and all that, which speaks to our financial constraints. So to address all these matters, we need to have an overall approach, appreciating our challenges as government. But we are concerned and we are putting efforts in place to make sure that we address such matters. And the bill itself wants to assist us in taking our work forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable members, we move to question 264, which has been asked by Honourable PP Klaban Chaba to the Minister of Public Service and Administration. The question is about the total number of foreign nationals that have been appointed by the state in the 2024-2025 financial year, and plans in place to ensure increased appointment of skilled South Africans by the state in the health and educational sector. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair, and also from the member. The total number of foreign nationals appointed in public service as of the 28th of February 2025 is 872. So in terms of Section 3.7 of the Public Service Act, an executive authority has all the powers and necessary duties for managing their internal organization and also for appointing, also transferring staff, recruiting and performance management. that resides with the authority of each, what you call EA. However, they don't end there. They also have a responsibility to identify skills gap, also focusing to the future skills demand, so they ensure that departments anticipate and prepare in time for evolving staffing requirement. Also to ensure that all our fulfillment of our duty comply with the legal framework and also promoting our equity. This, therefore, Chair, indicates that the employing of foreign nationals is not a norm but an exception. This also serves as a measure to ensure that targeted training in skills is also fulfilled. By fulfilling this responsibility by EAs, they are also ensuring that we don't rely on foreign nationals while strengthening the public service capacity. And I must emphasize that it is not the intention of the state to employ foreign nationals, but only when there is a need for that. And we do provide some provisions to make sure that in future we address such. Thanks.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The first supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Nchaba.
Angibonge kakhulu kwesihlalo. Ngqongqoshe ohloniphekile. Is there any government program to transfer critical skills from foreign nationals employed by the public service to our citizens? I thank you, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chair. The policy itself on utilizing foreign nationals to address human resource and skills need in the public service mandates that when foreign nationals are appointed, they must make sure that they perform their duties diligently and also facilitate the issue of skills transfer to the employees. Also, mentoring and coaching is encouraged to make sure that such skills are parted to develop the capacity of the state. And also a particular focus is given to internship and also graduate schemes, which is one way of trying to impart such skills so that we don't repeatedly employ foreign nationals. And this is not a norm, as I said previously. It's an exception that we must all understand. Thanks.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The second supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Lonzi.
No, thank you very much. I think we want to know from the Minister. Minister, have you ever seen the critical skills list? And do you know what skills are there in the critical skills list? Because when you keep speaking about skills shortage, a lot of that information comes from the critical skills list. And I can tell you now, for example, on that list, you have got doctors. You can't persuade me with so many unemployed doctors in South Africa that the profession of doctors is a critical skill that we don't have in South Africa. On that list, you've got nurses. You can't persuade me that we don't have young South African nurses who should be working in public service, who should be working in health, and many other government departments. So my question to you, Minister, is number one, have you seen the critical skills list in South Africa that deals with the so-called skills shortage, which is not true, by the way? And if you have seen it, do you agree that a doctor should be considered and put in that list, considering how many young unemployed doctors are in South Africa? Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair. I appreciate the question from the member, but I can only answer it by saying, I'm not sure whether he's referring to the question in particular as of last year, but if it's generally speaking for all other years before, I will say that we've got some of these, in particular nurses and others, because it's health and education, who have been into the system for quite long. And there's a reason for that, which I don't think applies to the purpose of the very same question. However, if we're talking about a doctor, there are many critical skills that are out there. But being a doctor does not mean it's a critical skill, literally, by being a doctor. My brother is a medical doctor, but he can't operate on the heart.
Honorable Minister, can you please pause? There's a hand. Honorable Lonzi.
The question was simple. Have you seen the critical skills list?
No, Honorable Lonzi, the Minister is still responding. Honorable Minister.
Chair, also the energy of the Minister. Please, can the energy level, please,
We're talking about the skills here.
Ufuna ukumenzani?
No, we are not playing sports, honorable members. There's no need for energy. We are responding to questions. The honorable minister.
Thank you. I'm happy that the question is coming from the same members, so they've taken their time to disrupt me while I was giving answers to them. I think what I've given is enough. The rest they are not interested in. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The third supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Langa.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Now, Minister, on a more respectable approach or manner, what specific steps has the department taken to audit and verify the qualifications and work permits of all foreign nationals currently employed in the public health and education sectors? If not, why? If so, what are the relevant details? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chair. Before I ask the question of the member, he will answer this question outside. Because somebody asked me when I was doing my constituency to say, how does he feel to be part of the IFP? Because IFP is a part of integrity, and to wear a suit every time he comes to this respective house. He will answer me outside. Honorable Member, the EAs, as I've said, they have powers to actually manage matters of their departments. So your question is therefore particular in to say what do we do as a department to do the skills audit. I will say therefore that those EAs are responsible for doing that, and because they are responsible for their department. But we believe that in their execution of their duties, because they are honorable members, they actually apply due diligence to make sure that people who are employed are fit for the purpose. They've got all the required, what you call skills, which are needed, because here we're talking about critical skills and not anything else. And thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you. The last supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Matopa.
Honorable Chairperson, the table has been informed that Honorable Matopa is not present and that I will stand in with that question as Honorable.
Proceed, Honorable Member.
Thank you so much. Very short question, because if I reflect on what happened when Honorable Matsoledi was the Minister of Home Affairs, we had an issue with a Zimbabwean who had illegal residence permit, who was employed. So in this instance, I want to know what criteria is followed with appointments, and why is the need to employ foreigners when we have qualified South Africans to do the job? And while the Minister is getting ready to get his head around that, I also want to raise the point that in Ward 82 in Johannesburg, Councillor Marilyn Smoos has won that ward with 2,022 votes versus 599 votes from the DA, and it was the DA ward. So Ward 82 Johannesburg residents said, Abahambe DA, Abahambe. So we need to congratulate her for that win. Convincing win it was. Convincing win it was.
Honorable Member, your time has expired.
Thank you.
The Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chair. And thanks for the question from the member. As I said, that the government is governed by legislations. There are legislations in place which guides as to how appointments should be done, generally speaking. And the case is referring to...
Honorable Minister, can you please pause? Honorable Reddy.
Honorable House Chair, on a serious note, I mean, MK won a by-election by over 70%.
No, Honorable Reddy, that is not a point of order. Can you please
to use
Honorable,
to talk about
Honorable
that.
Reddy.
That member
Honorable
from that party, PA, is abusing this platform.
Honorable
Please rule
Reddy.
that they must not do that.
Honorable
Speaker.
Reddy.
Thank you.
You are also abusing this platform. You are doing that. You are doing it. And please, that is not a point of order. Continue, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chair. So I was saying that the question that the member is asking is specific to an individual, which I may not have a particular answer unless I consult with Minister Motsoaledi, who can actually assist us. But as to why we appoint foreign nationals instead of our own, I mentioned the fact that this is not a norm, it's an exception, only on skills that we do not have, and we have a plan in place as government as to how we therefore ask those people to transfer that skill to our own. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable members, we now move to question 257, which has been asked by Honorable KP Sithole to the Minister of Public Service and Administration. The question is about the number of foreign nationals employed by the state and plans to increase the South African appointments, as well as initiative to enhance digital literacy among public servants and provide necessary training for evolving service delivery demands. Honorable members, I have been informed that Honorable T.M. Langa will take charge of the first question on behalf of Honorable KP Sithole in accordance with Rule 137, Roman figure 10A. I now recognize Honorable Langa. Oh, sorry, Minister. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much. Chair, there are numerous existing and planned initiatives to enhance digital literacy among public service. And this is largely informed by cabinet-approved National Digital and Future Skill for the Departments of Communications and Digital Technology. But the NSG has engaged in a number of partnerships to show that we are, as the department, involved in the issue of digital technology. The partnership has been reached between NEMISA, partnerships also with Google South Africa, which will actually roll out cyber security training for 13,000 South Africans, and out of that, 1,000 will be public servants themselves. The PSA also has partnered with the Batupile Digital Skill Program that is actually run by Public Service SETA, ensuring that technology-driven governance benefits all South Africans. We are not just, in fact, investing in technology as a department when we do such, but we are investing in the people who are driving our nation's progress. Thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. I now recognize Honorable Langa.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Minister, as public-private partnerships have been instrumental in accelerating digital skills development worldwide, collaboration with tech companies and educational institutions could provide cost-effective and high-quality training solutions for public servants. To what extent is your department engaging with private sector partners and academic institutions to leverage expertise, resources, as well as best practices in digital literacy training for public servants? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chair. The department recognized the rapid evolution of digital content and the need for an ongoing adaptation. The NSG rather, has formed several strategic partnerships, as I said previously, locally and also internationally. This includes partnerships in training and digital transformation provided by INSP in France, and also we've got partnerships with the University of Tshwane, as an example, also the Centec SOE. Again, as I mentioned previously, that we also partner with Google South Africa and also Microsoft South Africa. This week on Tuesday, Chair, I'm proud to say the NSG signed a partnership with Microsoft, which will address issues of artificial intelligence and cybersecurity. That's an extent of how much department is involved in issues of digital technology. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The second supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Polwane.
Thank you, Chair. Minister, the open distance e-learning offered by the National School of Government does not feature digital learning as part of the course. with the department intend to go to digital, is there any reason why the National School of Government does not prioritize the information technology as the priority course to advance the department intent? And when are they intend to go for it? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chair. The member will recall that the NSG e-learning offerings are designed to advance the implementation of the National Framework on Professionalization. But that being said, that means we are only focusing on a niche-specific training, like, for example, our compulsory pre-entry courses, orientation, etc. However, Chair, recognizing the importance of digital skills for efficient and modern public service, NSG has adopted a partnership approach, which is what I've mentioned before, where we partner with institutions specializing in those skills. So by so doing, we are allowing our members, or public servants rather, to have access to those institutions and that kind of knowledge, which is high quality, to ensure that they are capacitated and also they are able to meet our digital, what we call, needs as the state. However, that does not therefore mean we are only limited to partnering with important stakeholders and strategic institutions. We have plans in place to ensure that we include digital technology in our courses that we offer in the e-learning, but that's work in progress. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The third supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Malinga.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honorable Minister, in the light of growing government wage bill and its strain on the national budget, what are the alternative cost containment measures, such as reducing non-essential benefits, implementing performance-based salary adjustment, or streamlining administrative structure to improve efficiency without compromising service delivery that has been implemented by your department? And how effective have these been? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you, House Chair. I think as much as the member's question is very important, but it's outside the main question, so I prefer to answer him outside the House. Thank you.
The Honorable Minister would answer the member outside this House, or will you will write that question because it's outside of the question? Because I would preferably, if the minister does have a response, if you do have a response, maybe you can give the response to the member inside the House. But if you do not, then a minister can then explain that maybe you will then write to that member and explain in terms of maybe you don't have the details of the question.
No, Chair, I think we all agree that the question has to do with digital literacy. And the question from the member is specific about the wage bill, which is totally outside this. I'm very much willing to give the member an answer on issues of the wage bill because we've just reached a very recommendable agreement with Labour. I'm familiar with that, but not in this platform, outside the platform. Thanks.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The last supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Mhlongo.
Chair, just for purpose of clarity, which rule does it provide that
No, I have not recognized you yet, Honorable Mkhalipi, yes.
Recognize me. Which rule does allow the minister to go outside and answer questions instead of here in the House? As per your guidance, can you quote the rule?
Thank you, Honorable Mkhalipi. Honorable Member, yes.
Thank you, Chair. You know, the minister, when he says he will answer outside, you know, it sounds like it's a threat, like inkabi, so, yabona. So let's be serious here and answer the question, please. Not outside, but inside here. Thank you.
Honorable members, that is why I went to that is why I posed a question to the minister. But I'm understanding that the minister is saying that because the question does not necessarily deal with the initial question of the wage bill, but it deals with the digital side of it, then he will be able to give a response, maybe in a written manner to that member, because it is now outside of the question of the initial question that was asked. That is the response that I got. So we'll then proceed to the Honorable Mhlongo. I've provided you an opportunity.
I'll take a question, Honorable Chair.
Continue, Honorable Mkhali.
So this guy is relevant. He must not tell us of outside. Minister, how does the Department of Public Service and Administration assess the effectiveness of these initiatives and trainings programs? And what metrics or feedback mechanisms are in place to ensure continuous improvement in alignment with the evolving needs of public service delivery?
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much. Of course, this one is relevant, and I'm going to give an answer here. You know, the department, to measure the impact, they say the proof of the pudding
Chair,
is in the
it
eating.
sounds wrong when the minister says it's going to answer inside. No. Must use another name. What inside now?
Honorable Mkhali, why are you broadening up your mind in that sense? We are answering inside the chamber. That is correct.
Yeah, he must say so inside the chamber, not inside.
No, but why is your mind wild? Because inside would mean inside the chamber.
Very wild.
Honorable Minister.
Wild. Is white.
But, Honorable Chair, I really don't think that members should be doing what they are doing. All I was saying is that it's often said that the proof of the pudding is in the eating. How we measure the impact of our programs is through assessment and feedback from the very citizens that we are serving, because it's the only way you can measure how much you are making an impact and how much your programs are assisting. So all that we do, even all our initiatives, they are informed by the end user, which is the people of this country who receive our services, because all that we have known as government is that the public is not passive recipients of governance. They are part of it, and all our programs, even the digital technology that we introduce, it should not leave everyone outside. We must go with them and make sure that it advances our cause in terms of service delivery, as to how much services we are able to deliver, at what speed, and how much our people are satisfied with what we offer. And we improve from time to time to make sure that we meet the expectations of the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Mkhalipi, at a daycare, they would usually tell kids that you are very naughty. You must go to a naughty corner. I think as members of parliament, we must find a term in the rules committee that how then do we pose it, the issues of inside and outside. But honorable members, the 30 minutes that has been allocated to questions has now expired. Honorable Malinga.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to check that, is it parliamentary that female will be answered inside and male answered outside?
We have passed that. You are very late. The outstanding replies received will be printed in Hansard. I request now members to stand and wait for the presiding officer and the maids to leave the chamber. That concludes the business of the day, and the House is adjourned.
It's not inside, it's on top. Minister, can you answer whether it's inside or outside? Minister, answer, is it inside or outside?